All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC 330, Makhachev versus Machado, Garry, taking a look at and giving our predictions for the upcoming UFC Fight Night, Rodrigues versus Hernandez. Reverse that, Hernandez versus Rodrigues. To do all of that with me, as always, the man, myth, and legend, the Ohio player, a man so tender he will kiss, hug, and caress you like Ian Garry did to Islam Makhachev throughout their entirety of the title fight. Mr. Chase Parton, how are you, sir?
I'm very, very good. Of course, it is now Monday night. Time is right. Of course, didn't mean to rhyme right there. But Saturday we had fights. Damn, that was a good rhyme if I really committed to it. But either way, now we are ready to talk about the fights from Saturday. I'm very excited. How about you, Thinker? I mean, what's up?
Hanging in, brother. Yeah, no, also very excited to talk about these fights, upcoming fights on whatever card I just announced before there. And yeah, looking forward to it. Had a good amount of watching done. Did want to touch very quickly on Lux Fight League. I believe it's Lux Fight League. Watched Lux for the first time. Of course, that is where what is it, Juliet Rodriguez?
Julieta Martinez.
Julieta Martinez. Thank you. Yes, there were a lot of Martinez's on the card, actually. Mexican Fight League there. And yeah, I enjoyed the main card of that, but did want to say, just as an overarching note to all fighting organizations out there, anybody who has a fight league or an organization of any type, you cannot have 5 fights on your prelims and have that portion of the show be 3 hours long. It is unacceptable. So that was quite a slog to get through those first couple of hours there with that prelims. They were also, quality level of the fight, not super high. But once we got into main card, it picked up a little bit. So yeah, shout out to Lux. Just maybe want to tweak your format just a little bit.
This comment from Hydra, obviously, give a big shout out to the chat. Really, Sam, thank you for being here first. Hydra, Bleeding Edge, and then Hydra saying Lux was doo doo.
I mean, I maybe I'm a little bit more generous than some, but yeah, it was a chore a little bit. It certainly tests your commitment to the love of the game that you have.
And you had doubted Lux. I kind of had faith, and I was losing my love for the game when Lux was on. But when you said that the Ninja Ferret made an appearance, I mean, listen, I don't ask for much in this world. I just ask for a couple things. Eunice Dubin autograph card is one of them, and a Julieta Martinez appearance on the TV screen is awesome. Love it.
Yeah, unfortunately, she was there in service of her brother who was fighting, and he did not win his fight.
Oh.
So yeah, not great on that one. I don't believe. I'm pretty sure anyway. Yeah, which was odd because I believe he was representing Argentina.
She is Argentinian.
So okay, so I was correct about this. Then yeah, so Dana really did send her to the Mexican PI just because she speaks Spanish.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like, you kid, South American. We got a place for you. I mean, it's the same thing with Ty Miller. I mean, listen, I'm not saying much, but they sent him there for good reason for a second, so it was cool.
Fair enough. Yes. So yeah, that was that. Anything that you wanted to talk about before we got into anything else here, Chase?
No, I think I'm ready to talk about some UFC. Obviously, it was an interesting night of fights. So, what were you thinking going into it, Thinker? I'll throw it on you first. I mean, is there anything you want to introduce before we
Well,
get
did we
into
want to
it?
talk about this, or did we want to touch on the contender series before we?
True. You are right. Yes, contender series. Gosh,
Yeah, let me bring that up.
I've already forgotten, brother.
No, yeah. How can you? Well, I mean, with this first week, maybe you could. No, I mean, look, this was not the worst thing that we've ever seen on the Contender Series, but as we have seen in previous Contender Series seasons, this was not the knockdown dragouts that you want to see like consistently. So it was an okay start, but sometimes it takes a little while to get going.
Well, but an overarching note about the contender series, and not just about week one. I mean, it is all about setting the tone. So week after week, you have to one up performances that get contracts because Dana's going to get bored. This is where we talk about all finishes are not equal. We get finishes in the first episode, and you're like, that okay, maybe, whatever. But once you get later on, and the money starts drying up, he can only give out so many contracts. Like there's 100 fighters, he is not giving out all contracts. So you're gonna have to just make waves.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he certainly was a little generous with this one. I mean, just to run them down very quickly, of course, Joe Kropschott, he ended up getting a contract off of a late near finish. I mean, he did not end up getting the finish off of that, but he almost broke
Correct.
dude's arm, right?
He did break it. It
Oh,
was like
was it?
it was like a fracture dislocation, but it was broke. This was actually a really good performance by this crotchbot dude. Crotch Scott.
He
He
looked good. He's very technically gifted with his striking, but he was a little inactive, I thought, early on.
I thought he was very technical. Training with Corey Sandhagen for once probably played a really good part in this. I think he did very good. Dana even said he likes people that want to finish fights, and so he made the right move. And we'll talk about this in another fight. I think at least personally made the right move going for that submission because that was really what kind of gave him, like, Dana wants finishers. He tried to go for it. Any other person was tapping to that shit.
True.
You just had this random dude who was okay with getting his arm broke because I think he thought he won the fight. I don't know. So
Could have been. And shout out to John Kuhneman for enduring that, because it was pretty crazy that he didn't tap.
interesting backstory. I think this is one of the few diabetics that we have, like, that we've seen in the UFC.
Yeah, no, they did mention that. Yeah, our diabetic king, much like a loader, our dyslexic king.
Mm.
We're all of representation of all of our afflictions here, I suppose.
And I'm not trying to like bash on dude, but when we talk about like the promos, it's kind of a portion of it. When he was initially talking before he got into the diabetic situation kind of deal, I was like, yo, did he get his backstory off Chat GPT? Like, it literally sounds like he's reading, like, make a backstory that sounds interesting. Like, it was kind of weird. And then he got into the diabetic stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I was being fucked up.
But yeah, no, but a nice win for Crop Scott here. And actually, I don't know if maybe inactive was the wrong word. I felt like he might not be very powerful in his hands. I think that was more the note, because he was consistently striking, but it just didn't feel like he was ever really going for the kill with any of these shots, which eventually you kind of want to, even if you maybe feel out round one. Throughout the course of the fight, you want to ramp up to the point that you're actually damaging with your shots. That was my only real note, I think, for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, then of course Malumba did get finished. This was a little bit more, definitely a better performance than his last time on the show. Of course, he got finished earlier last time, but still came up short again, unfortunately, for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, Ananias, right? Ananias from
Sure.
Malumba.
Malumba.
Yeah, Mr. Malumba. But so that means, Tom Paliarulo here ends up
The
getting a
names,
contract.
bro. God
I
damn.
know. Well, and like this was the one that kind of bothered me, as you said. Not all finishes are created equal. He did get a finish in this fight very late, as you can see, round 3, 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Only a couple of seconds left in the fight, basically. So yeah. Anyway, I wasn't super impressed with this performance, so all things considered.
It's not necessarily the finish that you need to be impressed with. It is that he didn't quit. Like, he was getting his ass handed to him for the first half of this fight kind of deal. And then Malumba, he is Malumba. He is just, he's a finish or be finished at heart. That's what it is. I want to say shout out to him for being a black belt in karate. Who in the Congo was giving that out? Because one, it didn't translate too well. But second, I this dude is like a very interesting fighter to me because, like, one, obviously the Congo. Two, he is very talented. Like, he is good at what he can do. He's powerful, and being a black belt in karate is so random. And I'm like, man, this dude, he's gonna get it done this time, and he really can put an ass whooping on somebody. But they really are giving him some people that just do not want to go down, and I really think that's the unfortunate part. It reminds me in a way. You remember the guy that Lonnie Kavanaugh knocked out? They gave him a
Yes.
second run, and they just gave him a dude who was just better than him. And it's like, what can you do?
Right.
You do everything you can to get back, and they screw you over again. He didn't get screwed over, but the finish was just because he was done, man. He gave it all. So
Sure. Yeah, and it actually draws some comparisons in my mind to someone we'll talk about on the UFC card. For the actual 330 card, we'll get to some of that, because there was a guy who basically ended up, and we'll get into it, but a dude who was on Tough on the Contender Series and in the UFC came up short 3 times, unfortunately. But sometimes that's just be the way it is, man. You have to be better. I mean, like, and I like. I don't mean that to be mean. I just mean that to be like factual. Like, you have to rise above the challenges that are presented. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not something people are capable of.
the last thing that I'll say on this note is, because at heart he is that guy who will go get finished or try to finish the person no matter the circumstance. If he goes and gets more wins outside the organization again, I think with him being from this region, he might be able to get a short notice call up. Like, if he goes and wins 3 right now, 13-4, short notice, 2 days, he'll go out there and die for it. Like, I like
It's to that same point. This is the exact type of guy that should be ringing up MVP right now.
Mm.
This is the type of fighter that they need in MVP to start building up their own roster, because you put him in there against whatever they would be having as their normal roster of competition, he would shine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He'd look like a fucking god out there. But yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to Tom. Like I said, he was getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see him in the organization now and see if he, stacks up there. But yeah, like I said, I'm a little slightly not skeptical because he does have heart, but I'm just, it was like, does this really deserve the contract? Same with the first fight, but like again, both of those fights, the last one and this one, I understand why the contracts were awarded. Do I agree with it? That's where it's a little dicey.
It's also, again, this is just a general note for the first episode of the season. Everybody's tuning in to see what this is. Part of the show is getting contracts. Like, he's gonna have to give out a few, like, to make people understand, like, oh, okay, they get contracts, and they talk about it a little bit. Like, so you can't just be like, yeah, sucks to suck, all of you, like, then nobody would understand. Nobody's coming back for the second episode if nobody makes their way to the show, kind of deal. So,
well, fair enough. But then, if you needed to know exactly why you're watching the show, you could be pointing right here to, of course, the big signing of the episode, Bilal Hassan. Even though this guy is an interesting guy, this Bilal Hassan, for a couple of reasons. Now, of course, first and foremost, he's fighting a dude from India. And we've talked about India before. As much as we want our Indian kings out here getting their wins, we do recognize India is still a developing market when it comes to MMA. So already Bilal Hassan coming in with a slight advantage in that regard, if you count it as such, which I personally do. But then you got Bilal Hassan, the person. And this guy, he's a bit of a character. You know what? I've been saying this. He gives me Michael Chandler vibes.
What?
In like the not, he maybe not as motivational, but like in that sort of like a little bit of the fakeness that Michael Chandler has. That was what I was getting at. Yeah, like fake may be a little bit strong, but like the persona is like. Did you not hear him in the interview after he got the contract, where he's like, it's every man's mission to go out there and show what they have and prove their mettle. I mean, like, it felt like this dude was like on a soapbox, like out here, like really as the poster child for the aspirations of the planet.
He's very performative, I think, is what you're maybe getting at. Yes,
sure. That's the better way to say it.
And well, okay, he's an interesting person just because he actually does have personality. Again, when you look at the Joe Kuhneman, I was like, dude, is this guy reading his shit off of a fucking script? Like, what's going on? But when you hear this guy and he's like, and to one growing up as a Michael Jackson fan, who I relate to this, I can see why this is a thing. I gave it up, but that's just part of growing up. He obviously is going to stick with this forever, and I think it is just an interesting thing because it's like, can you get copyrighted for this? He's doing the moonwalk on TV, guys. Michael Jackson owns this, does he not? Like, I don't know. It's funny. He's an interesting dude.
Yeah, the estate's coming for him.
And another interesting thing is, like, he does represent Indonesia. I think he calls it Indonesia, and I think I was like, okay, maybe he knows more than me. Maybe that's how they call it.
Yeah, deeper ball knowledge there. But yes, he does represent Indonesia, but of course was not born in Indonesia, speaks perfect English, was born in Hawaii. This is an American, goddammit.
Yeah, no, I think this is just another layer to his story, because people are going to think he's Indonesian, and they're going to treat him a certain way. Like, obviously we look at the Indian guy and he treated him a certain way. I mean, speaking of the fight, I mean, he just got punched one time and it wasn't anything crazy going on. Yeah.
One of those,
easy. And moonwalked on him, by the way. First moonwalk in the UFC cage. But the people are going to treat him like an Indonesian when he's actually thick-skulled like a Hawaiian guy. So I think that's going to be to his advantage. A flyweight with power, it's more common now, but we'll see how it goes. This is a young guy who is a flyweight fighter. Some of the flyweights that we see that have power, they could clearly be bantamweights kind of deal, and they're cutting just more weight, some of the wrestlers too. But I think Bilal Hassan, I think he looks like he is enjoying what he does. Depends on how his career goes. He could have a long future here and then eventually move up because he looks like he needs to start eating some more, and it's coming from one to tell one. So
true. Yeah. Well, and I am happy that he does represent Indonesia, and there were a lot of Indonesians riding with him. So regardless of what I said before, I mean, it is nice to have the representation there. So congratulations to our Indonesian friends who are happy about that.
Yeah, and shout out West Indian in the chat, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah. Shut up, Wes, always, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, brother.
Oh,
Uh,
and Edge. Thank you. Appreciate you.
yeah,
And ten
absolutely.
seven. Gosh, everybody's showing out right now.
Gang's all here. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here.
Hmm.
Of course, that brings us to the low point of the card, which was, of course, this fight with Fabrizio and Abe. And the thing that sucks here is that this Abe Al-Sangir, he's from Lebanon originally. He has a classic American backstory. Single mother, came over to the United States, raised a family. It's like he really had to struggle to get by. He's got all of these elements that are like, man, you want to root for this guy, and then the fight just does not stack up in the slightest. It was just such a not great fight here.
Yeah,
Yeah, not enjoyable.
and shout out Johnny the God, absolutely.
Hey,
And to this last point, Hydra. Okay, great point. He probably was born there, but it probably is not genetically based. So if he doesn't have a thick skull like a Hawaiian guy, fine. But this fight itself, you didn't need a thick skull to go into this. Neither of these dudes were coming in to kill each
I
other.
think my skull got a little thicker watching it.
Dude, oh my God, the amount of air between mine and my brain got smaller. This is crazy. So this fight was boring, of course. Like, the fact that Dana had some words to say. This is when I was in the chat with people, they obviously did not agree with in the Discord. They did not agree with the call. Dana did not agree with it, but I do find it really funny that out of all the stinker performances to talk about, he's like, this one right here, man, I got to just lay it into this guy, man. Like, fuck. 0 for 15 on takedowns is pretty funny to look at, to be fair. But,
Jeez.
I, when we talk about this is the first performance, and then there's a performance on the mic after. You get a couple different moments and instances with the promos, and then after the fight, and then after the contract stuff. I think this dude had the right idea. I think he had the right idea because he tried to play right into Dana's. He tried to play right into his hand, like, yeah, look, my parents were immigrants. I was born here. I grew up, and I was in the military. I'm the American dream. And I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, Dana might just eat it up and give him one opportunity. Like, all right, I'll give you a shot, or I'll give you a fight later on. Something
Right.
like that.
Sure.
Dana don't give a shit no more, man. He don't play. And it's funny because just weeks ago, like maybe a month ago, whatever, we had Dana talking about, it's about the story, man. I like the story. And then this dude tells the American dream story, and Dana
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
go for it.
not only did he not go for the American Dream story, he literally said, "I did not think you won that fight." Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, I kind of agree as well. I mean, it was a close fight, not a great fight, of course, but still close either way. And yeah, people think that Escaraga got robbed on that one a little bit. Again, it was close, so it's not like a complete robbery. But either way, it was funny to be like, yeah, your backstory is great and everything, dude, but I didn't think you won, so get the fuck out of here.
Okay, and this is where I got to bring up this issue. It was not an issue, of course, but it was an interesting thing for the first season or the first episode of Tough. In the first fight, you had Joe Kuhneman, who for some reason is from Nebraska, but he wanted to look like a Dagestani. I don't know why he did that. And then we get into this fight here, and we have a Mexican fighter who also wanted to look like a Dagestani fighter for this. It was very weird. Did they want to put a certain image out, like, I'm going to wrestle, brother, and then I'm just going to strike the entire time? It was weird, right?
They think that shaving the mustache and keeping the beard is the aura move. I mean, it's this you gain more power from this.
I thought this was one of the more interesting vibes for the first episode. I was like, "What? So is everybody Dagestani now? Like, is this the meta? You just look like it and then go out there and strike. You got to be unassuming. But when you look assuming, then you just do whatever the fuck you want." So
I'm telling you, man, the same way that the mullet was in style in like the 80s, went out of style and came back, the Dagestani beard might just be the next big trend. It could be that we're on the opening part of the wave here.
chat, please let us know if the Dagestani
Yeah,
facial hairstyle.
who among you in the chat is going to be shaving the mustache and keeping the beard? Let us know.
Who among the chat can grow a full beard? Let's start there,
Yeah,
just because
really.
I can't. So
Yeah, same. But either way, that takes us, of course, to the final fight of this thing, which Anthony Went got himself a nice knockout here. Praise the Lord, left, right, and center. Yet another very, very religious individual on the show.
Talk about performative.
Yeah,
God damn.
yeah. I mean, he was kind of going into like preacher mode for a second there, and kept that going all the way through his interviews and everything else.
This dude, first off, you said got himself a nice knockout. This was one of the worst ones, and it was just the last fight of the night. So like everybody, all the hype, the hopes were high, and then when the finish actually happened, You didn't know what was going on. Just like at the end of last episode of Tough, where we had the, all right, it's over. No, I didn't say that. I never said it was over. I said timeout.
Oh,
We had that.
yeah, there was some weirdness with this one, wasn't there?
So Anthony Went just walks through Matt Adams. Matt Adams falls to the mat, and Herb kind of steps between them, kind of deal, and then steps back. And then Anthony Went, I don't know, again, this is just Rockhead football, guys. I don't know if he is just not understanding the rules properly. He punched this dude like 3 times in the spine and then the back of the head, and then Herb
True.
Dean stepped in. And then everybody's like, oh, that's a timeout. No, he's calling a timeout because he is back of the head. He was hitting him in the, oh, no, it's over. Oh, okay. All right.
I wonder why Herb got booed on the 330 card. Yeah, no. So you're right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that aspect of it, but you are correct. Yeah, and then if you go back and watch the replay, which they did show, direct impact right on the spine.
That was really bad. Like if it was legal, I feel like I'd probably have a different opinion. But we gotta call a spade, bro. That you cannot do tailbone, spines, back of the nape of the neck, bro, back of the head. Like, come on, let's keep it classy. But he did his whole spiel, and like the chat is saying here, Johnny the God, he's going to be fighting this weekend, so we'll obviously get to make our prediction here in a few about him.
Yeah,
Isn't
how
that
about that? Isn't that crazy? He gets his shot immediately after, and like I always say, it's just legal. If it's not going to get called, not only is it just legal, it's not going to get called. You win the fight, you win a contract off of fighting like that. So how about it? Just again, no rules, guys. Go out there and do whatever you want. Let the chips fall as they may.
we will talk about it later, but chat, let me know if he's going to pull the Sursakayev and 4 days notice going to get himself a win. What do you think?
Kind of crazy to think about. But that being said, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Any final thoughts on the Contender Series Week 1?
It was underwhelming, I would say, but I think that's just, well, what I would say to the overarching vibes of this. Obviously, they play off of each other. Like I said at the beginning, this one wasn't that good of a week, so people are gonna they're gonna think shit's sweet next week. They're gonna also put up stinker performances. They're like, what, that guy got one, and he did nothing. And it's like, all right, play that fucking game, man. They're gonna do, what we talked about with Joe Koch got. He went for that armbar at the end. That's what got him that contract. Not everybody's gonna do that. And they're going to look at that and be like, what's the difference? He just went 3 rounds and did that and X amount of things. And they're not understanding that you have to have the mentality that, like, I'm finishing this guy, whether this happens or not. Like, that's the goal. And so this next week, tomorrow, you're going to see people who are going to put up similar performances and not get contracts. And they're going to look stupid in the cuck chair at the end while everybody else gets a contract, watching them walk by. And that's just how the game. That's how the game goes. It's going to take a couple weeks for people to like I said, week 3, they'll see like, oh shit, we cannot play the game with them. I got to come in here and put my life on the line. And that's where we're going to get the mix.
And so what you're saying is basically if you are a mid-level fighter and you're going to be on the Contender Series, you really want to be on week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, exactly. This is where you're going to shine for sure.
True. Yeah. Well, fair enough. Then hopefully these coming weeks will be the deciders of that,
And to that point, if you are going to be a flashy creative finisher, the last week, I mean, you got to make a big moment. You want to be the last thing that people remember from the Contender Series. So you better hope that you can stall out to be later, or if you're going to be right in the middle, you better just come to play, man. That's what I got to say to every one of these guys, and just stay awesome. Contender Series is great.
Yeah, and that's also
the new meta was awesome.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we talked about that already. Yeah, the new meta Apex looking amazing. Plus tickets so cheap to the Contender Series. If I lived in Las Vegas, I would be there every one of these weeks for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and then just my last note is to your point about the dynamics there with the seasons and how they progress. For week 1, this is also why Bilal Hassan is going to come into the organization with a good amount of steam. On a card that wasn't all that great, not a crazy amount of activity from some of these fights. He is the big standout, so his name is going to get remembered at least until we get farther down the line. So he probably should be looking to get booked pretty quickly, I would say.
Absolutely.
Good deal. All right, well then that takes us to the meat and potatoes of the evening. Of course, UFC 330. That's the card that we watched on Saturday. It took place at the Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Chase, coming into this card, what were you thinking on paper here?
On paper, I mean, this wasn't the craziest card. But I did have some people that I was really looking forward to see. Some people I was unsure about because it was their debut or whatever, and I was very impressed. Some people They did not change the perception. They, if anything, made themselves look a lot worse. So I'm just really excited to go through a lot of them because it was a lot of ups and downs. Like there was so many moments that there was no scandalism. Like this was straight ball, but some moments just, man, they just felt weird. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I will say, obviously, as very critical, I was doing a whole bunch of yelling last night about consistency when it comes to the oversight of this sport, which I might end up putting out as a clip at some point coming up. But for all of that yelling that we do on a weekly basis here, there was actually some decent refereeing moments on this card,
Mm,
so that was nice to see. And then as far as like the overall, I mean, coming into it, I thought that this was a pretty decent card on paper. I didn't think it was as bad as some people were making it out to be. And then as we got through it, I was like, this is going pretty in a nice direction for most of it. And then we'll talk about the last two fights being the title fights and how those played out. But overall, I had decent expectations for this, and I feel mostly lived up to that in the majority of it, with exceptions here and there.
absolutely. I'm just ready to get into some of them because what I will say, what you guys don't know is holding my breath for an entire day and a half to talk about these fights is very difficult. I turn very blue by the time we get here. So
Yeah, if we could do the show on Sunday, we would, people, I promise. But either way, we're here now and we're here to talk about these fights. Let's start it off with the first one, which is Jeremiah Wells versus Miktabek Orolbai, and the upset that I don't think anybody saw coming with this fight. Good Lord, Jeremiah Wells with this buzzer beater. I mean, it wasn't as late into the fight, but I mean, he was certainly down at least a round. Now, this is interesting. What I want to start off with my thoughts on this. Yes, Miktabek left his neck open in round 3, got it snatched. But round 1, I mean, I thought round 1 was pretty close because Miktabek's striking defense was so non-existent in that first round. He got touched up multiple times. He took some heavy shots early on. Now, granted, he turned the tides later in the round, but this was not the most solid start to this performance for Miktabek, I thought. So then the ending of it, it was still crazy because of how it went down. But like, I was like, man, I mean, he already was on shaky ground as far as I was concerned. Like, if he had won this fight as we all thought he was going to, I'd probably be coming into this week being like, man, he certainly got that victory, but I was a little bit concerned about certain things. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, this is what great fighters are about. This is somebody that is overlooked by me personally. Coming into this, and everybody really, nobody gave Jeremiah Wells a chance. Not even the fucking crowd, bro. Like that, he was the hometown guy, one of the only on the card, showed up. And he had the positive vibes that he was. Whether he looked as if he was going to conquer the world internally, obviously he knew what he was capable of. And this fight, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, if you want to call it 1-1, that's fine. But I think for story purposes, Miktabek was winning both of these rounds and got lazy. And I've said this before. If you look at Miktabek Orabai in the face, you cannot question why he makes dumb decisions, bro. He is just built like that. He will just Benoit Saint Denis for some reason is kind of the same way. It's like you got to stop expecting him to just be the IQ god out there. Orabai, this was so crazy because Orabai shoots, just lazy as shit, neck out, gets caught, and we see Wells get the ninja choke going. And in my mind, and hopefully in everybody else's, you're like, come on, Orabai, he ain't going out like that. He ain't tapping. And he did not, but he did go out like that. And he literally got dropped on his face from going limp from a ninja choke. And I mean, what a way to start the card. I would say this for sure. And to the last point about Miktabek, he is, and maybe not for long, a fan favorite. The seats in the crowd might have been way emptier after this fight because Kyrgyzstan showed the fuck out and they were upset,
Yeah,
man.
did not know that there were so many Kyrgyzstanis in the States, or maybe they came over for it or whatever. But yeah, there was certainly a good amount of representation for it.
Yeah, this fight, I mean, what a way to start the night. As a fan of the sport, there's people out there who make bets and like they get so upset when their fighter loses. Like, why couldn't you do that? It's like you got to just understand that anything can happen in the sport. You can make this small of a mistake, and a guy like Jeremiah Wells, which again is nobody to most. Up until now, this is one of I listen. This guy's high up on the totem now. He just took down Orabai in a way that nobody ever has. This dude was supposed to fight Islam here soon, and I'm about to cry. So this was so crazy for a fan of the sport to see someone like Jeremiah Wells pull this off in his hometown and have that big motivational speech after, the energy that this dude kept. I think this was a cool story. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It was a feel good moment, even
Mm.
if it was a roll by. You know what I mean? I agree with you on that. He literally worked in that arena, and was there fighting after all of that, getting the win. And what I said about the finish of this, I don't know if you've ever seen this clip. I know you're a wrestling fan, Chase. You ever see the clip of Hulk Hogan choking out Richard Belzer?
Is that the reporter guy
Yeah, well, no, not
on
the
the
one where he
TV
gets
show?
slapped on the TV show, on the talk show.
Yeah,
Yeah, he puts him in the choke and he just instantly fucking drops. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it felt like to me. I was like, that is very reminiscent of that moment there with this choke, because yeah, he sunk that thing in and did the damn job. And what actually makes sense about that to me was the fact that, like I said, I don't think that Wells necessarily won the first round, but he did land a couple of decent strikes. And I would say Wells is a great example of the power is the last thing to go. He's 39 years old, still looking like he was swinging with decent power in his hands. So you grab the neck, you got enough power in your arms still. You get the job done, and that's exactly what he did. So he was a dude who never quit on himself, even at his advanced age, being somewhat of a guy who's probably going to be ushered out. He literally said himself, either the organization's going to put me in the top 15 or I'm retiring. That's never never where you want to be as far as like what your trajectory is, so to speak. And it still was, I thought, a very nice a nice story for him in his hometown.
No, absolutely. Hydra makes a great point. Orabai is from a time before ninjas. He did not know that they choked. That is very plausible. I mean, again, just look at pictures of this guy, you will understand. But
You're
anyway,
you're
another.
talk
Okay.
you're talking about the intelligence of a lawyer here, sir. This is a man who has a law degree.
Yeah, Kyrgyzstani lawyers, man. They don't know what ninjas are. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, so Toby makes a great point. If you guys did not know, I do have a framed canvas of Orabai. He is no longer in the shot. I did have to put him away after this one. I could
I was
not
gonna
I
I
could
was
not
gonna
sit here
ask.
and look at him for the rest of this, man.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, are you gonna keep it or not? I mean, I guess he's being put away until he starts winning again.
Dude, he's got to pull off a big one, bro. Like that is some fucking bull. This was so crazy of a finish, man. Just shout out Jeremiah Wells. There ain't really nothing else to say,
Yeah,
man.
I think that you got to shout out Jeremiah Wells on this one, even as a fan of Mick Tebek, which we all are. So
Yeah,
good deal,
absolutely.
good start. And
Well, actually, so one last thing about Mick. There was a
yeah,
video, the pre-fight, just stupid clips that they post or whatever, and it was like you push the button and then it's a timer and then you stop it, and it's like, okay, start it and then stop it at 5 seconds, and he goes boom, boom, and he's like, bruh. And it's like 5 seconds, and he did like like a second and a half. Like it was really goofy from him. So, just stupid stuff from Orabai. Did no surprise that he lost here, I guess. But
if you're in Kyrgyzstan, this is your lawyer right here.
yes, maybe there's a reason he's fighting now is because he did not end up doing some good stuff on the courtroom.
Oh man. All right. Well, that being said, then court is not in session. Let's go on to the next one. Speaking of onks getting the job done over here, Neil Magny fought Ramiz Brahimaj. Return of my king, Neil Magny, as we expected on this one. Actually, I thought we did pretty good job predicting this one down the line. What we said basically coming into this fight was that Ramiz Brahimaj, he was on a little nice run, but I had felt that he was not living up to his fullest of expectations as to where he was supposed to be continuing to progress to. And this was the exact roadblock that he was going to run into if that was the case. Ended up running right into the roadblock.
I'm glad you remember that we together collectively agree that this is the fight that Neil Magny can and should be able to win if Ramiz is not looking good. And when you look at the long line of people that Neil Magny beats compared to the people that he loses to, you'll see which side of the coin Ramiz falls on kind of here. And it's unfortunate that the performance that he had is, listen, bro, getting finished in round 2 by Neil Magny is pretty fucking impressive. Like that's it, round 3 is where he thrives. Round 2 is still in his like getting the ass kicking phase, So Ramiz didn't even have that game. The first round dominant, sure, whatever. Second round, nothing. It's just dude had nothing left to give, man. Like it's kind of crazy because from the region that he comes from, the Bronx, whatever, New York,
Yeah.
he has not got the grit like somebody from New York. I don't know what the deal is. He don't give off the vibes of like, bro, round 2 by Neil Magny, and I feel like 61 strikes he landed. Like, come on, bro. This is not a type of performance where you get finished, because this is dead ass the rest of your career, bro. We know what you are now. Like
Yeah.
there's no big fights coming after this. You had your opportunity. They even thought you could be something because they gave you Magny. Like that's saying something. They wanted you to be able to finish Magny and get back on track. And you can't even do that, bro. Like I don't know what to say, man. It sucks.
There will
Fat Joe
never
was not in the crowd for this one either. Maybe that was the deal.
He was not leaning back. That is true. No, look, there will never be another gatekeeper like Neil Magny. I want to say that right here, right now. Like, this is like the quintessential gatekeeper, and that is exactly what he does. He keeps that fucking gate. If you are not on the level, if you cannot surpass what he brings to a fight, you don't get through. Ramiz, this was a horrible performance overall. I mean, like you said, round one, I mean, even with the dominant top control, it was very inactive. No advances, no real transitions. It was a lot of cuddling on top. Round two was pretty much a lot of the same. And I mean, commentary was saying how comfortable Neil was going flat on his back, but Ramiz was way too comfortable gaining control and then coasting with that, I thought. So it's like, throughout all of that, somehow, with all of that as the baseline for everything, somehow Ramiz still ends up gassing, still ends up going tired. I mean, like, Neil Magny basically just stood up and started banging the side of his head. That's really how this fight ended. Guy, gets off of his back. Ramiz doesn't end up moving. Okay, well, shit. I mean, I got a sitting target. Let me just start pounding away. That's exactly what he did. He got one big shot to stun him, and the rest just finished the job. So I thought that this was what Neil Magny does. So I was not surprised by that. But as far as Ramiz goes, this really should be an eye opener for you that, like, there are glaring holes in what you're bringing to fights, and you cannot get put out like this. This is not, like you said, you're already now at a roadblock as far as trajectory goes. If you think that you're going to get over that, it's going to take a fight or two, and you need to fix those problems now. So when you're at those fights, you have the ability to surpass that.
The real question is, have we seen the last of his Conehead hat? So
I mean, until he wins again, they're keeping that thing the same place you're keeping a roll by's picture.
absolutely on ice, brother.
On ice, indeed. So yeah, I mean, shout out to Neil Magny getting the job done, and again, two upsets by two unks right now. This was a good start for the elderly.
This was a pretty crazy start. I'm not gonna lie. The two fucking 38 plus guys just making history. I don't know. This was nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that takes us into the last of the early prelims here with Rafael Tobias and Lucas Fernando. And now, of course, no unks in this fight, but one way big skill gap in this fight. I loved. I'm sure that you saw this. Did you see the start of this fight when Tobias was doing his, like, oh man, I'm gonna come out. He's doing the evil eyes. He almost had the little Hamzat thing going on where he's like kind of looking over his brow, and he's like, oh man, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna kill somebody. It's like, bro, you really set that up and then did nothing. I mean, like, this was one of the most inactive performances I think that we've seen in quite some time as far as pure striking goes, because Lucas Fernando on the other side was doing the damn thing consistently, accurately, very nice striking out of him. And Tobias sat there in front of him just taking shot after shot. And it wasn't until round 3 that he actively engaged his hands in any meaningful way.
No, this fight was honestly, I think this was a very good performance from Fernando because we didn't know anything about him. I mean, he's a guy that came in, on short-ish notice, I think, and we just had to put stock in anybody is better than Tobias mostly. And I think you're correct. The introduction where he's doing his little thing, and then he does the his bipolar thing. I think one, cringe. Two, not putting on for the bipolar kings out there, I would say, because you came in here and some people, with the stigma that mental disorders have, they'd be like, "Oh, the guy who's bipolar, he's gonna be great in here. He's gonna get to let it." No, he did not do any of that. It was a very underwhelming performance, and I don't think it was necessarily because he didn't bring it. I mean, he didn't necessarily bring it to the best of his ability, I would say, but it was because there was so much skill difference. I mean, you're right. I mean, there was no entry points that he had. Every time he thought he had something, Fernando was just mixing in everything. By round 3, I think this is what's interesting too, because I remember, if anybody's in the chat who was on my thing, I was sitting there and I was like, this Fernando dude is good, but as a kickboxer who's like supposed to be a very high level kickboxer for what I'm looking at, he's coming in here dicing this dude up, not even giving him the opportunity. The defense was awesome, offense, but I was like, where's the knees though? where are the knees from this guy? That's what the next level is that I need him to, we need these finishing shots. And then a couple seconds later, he hits him right in the stomach. This was a one of those delayed reactions that really does feel good. It's like, dang, he ate that knee. Oh yeah, no, he didn't. Definitely didn't. And shout out to him. It was a good finish, Tobias. Once again, probably should have paid for Gilbert Burns to be your trainer and not your manager. But
For sure. I mean, I think you're being a little generous to Tobias on this one, man. He again, 14 total strikes. I mean, this is a 3-round fight. Even if it did end early in the third round, he was not moving his hands worth a goddamn. Now, as far as Fernando goes, we actually did know a little bit about Fernando. This earlier back, I don't know if we mentioned this on the previous episode. Fernando was on the Contender Series. You know who he fought and lost
yeah,
to? He
Mr.
lost.
Beast.
Yeah, no, wasn't it? It was he was or no, Cesar Almeida.
Is that correct? Let's double check here. Dang, it was a while ago.
It was a
It
while ago.
was Cesar Almeida. Yes,
Yeah,
Cesar
so I mean,
Almeida.
now Cesar Almeida, high level kickboxer. Maybe that was the loss that he needed because after that he goes on this long win streak over there at LFA. He's taken out competition. He becomes the champion over there. I thought that if he comes in and does a great job in the actual organization now, he's going to be the exact success story that proves the rule of everything. Like, sometimes you get pushed up a little bit too fast. You go back down, you get a bunch of nice wins over there, you improve your craft. There you go. You get in and now you're at the exact place that you need to be. So I was very happy with this performance, but that has to also be couched with, it has to be paired with the fact that he was going up against a blank canvas in Tobias. Because I see Hydra in the chat saying, I'm very high on Fernando after this. You got to see him against somebody who's going to actually throw back. And I mean, I was already not a big fan of Tobias after the Nurgashai fight. We talked about that a little bit. I was like, I don't think that this guy is on the level. This guy can get cut immediately as far as I'm concerned. Like, you can't come in and not do anything. I'm sorry to say this is not the place where this is going to fly. And if you're doing that and losing to a guy who is also new to the organization, then what do you think is going to happen when they give you somebody of a higher caliber? So Tobias out of here, I would say. Fernando, I really, really appreciated this performance. I really enjoyed it. I thought that the striking was very tremendous and the finish was great too, as you said. Delayed reaction, body shot finish. Always loved that. Need to see him doing it against somebody who's going to give him a better fight.
I want this clip right here, and I'm going to put stock into Tobias. Not right now. Not right now. But I will say this just so it lives on. I think Tobias has a good chance. He is 23 years old. He could exit the organization now. And when he returns in a few years, give him a few years, not a couple fights, give him a few years to develop. When he comes back, you'll remember him. You'll be like, man, this guy was not good when I saw him last. And I would say there's potential that he makes bigger improvements than somebody who is obviously 28 or 29 already. He is a very young fighter. He has a lot of fights. He's getting experience that is going to, who knows what this fight will do to his mentality going forward, but it may not be in the UFC right now. I would say in a few years, Tobias, I think just you're going to have to work on a lot of stuff though, man. If you really want this.
Yeah, no, literally take the exact roadmap that Lucas Fernando took, if that's the
Yeah.
case, bro. And I mean, Lucas Fernando going up against Cesar Almeida, that might be a little bit of a higher, skill gap at that time. But either way, the same roadmap right there. Drop back down, work your way back up, be improving all the while. Then maybe you come back with a better perspective, better shot.
Absolutely.
All right. Taking us on to the next one here. This was one where I was hoping that Unk was going to be able to do it, but he did not. This is Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. This performance from Luque, he had his little flex, and I think that at his age, even though he's not that old, we've talked about this before. He's one of these guys that gets counted out a lot because he's got a lot of mileage on him. That's what it is. It's not the age as much as it is the mileage, and then everybody remembering the fact that he had the brain bleed as well. Those things are factors for sure, and the mileage maybe is wearing on him a little bit, but he is still dangerous. I mean, he did have his moments here and there. There was a couple of times I felt he was a little too comfortable striking early. I would have liked to have seen the level changes a little earlier from him, but if he was going to strike, he did have a couple of moments of some good, solid connections. Gore as well had those early on in the fight. And then, late in this fight, he knocked out 3 of the goddamn front teeth of his opponent with a flying knee. So obviously there's still a level of danger there. But that being said, Gore did end up besting him in the big picture.
This one was interesting. I mean, we'll talk about the real story of this fight, of course. The fight was not very good, in my opinion. I think it is an unfortunately bad performance for, as you said, for someone to end up losing teeth. You could have done it in way more spectacular fashion, you know. But I do believe that that is the story of the fight here.
Sure.
It is unfortunate to me because I kind of thought Luque won two of these rounds. You know, I thought this was a lot closer than a 30-27 on both. And I was like, what? I was thinking to myself, like, how the fuck did they give him round one? You know,
He definitely won at least one. I thought the 30-27s, yeah, the 29-28, I was like base judge.
yeah, no, that one. So it was weird, but again, the moment that we got to have in the post fight, of course, was I've been watching religiously for about 3 years now, multiple martial arts, and I ain't seen nothing like this before. I mean, this is next level shit. You know, we've definitely heard of people getting their teeth knocked out and loose. I ain't never seen somebody do the post fight speech. And the second question, it's not the first question. Hey, is your jaw looks messed up. No, the second question. So he went on, talked for a minute, and then Joe Rogan's like, "Yeah, it sounds like your jaw's messed up, man. Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just this fucking bastard knocked my teeth out." And I'm like, "Yo, this." And then obviously, you know, he gives the spiel like, "Dude, I don't give a fuck. I'm like here to fight." Like, and this is the type of shit where I believe it. You know, again, it goes back to Tommy McMillan on the Contender Series. Like that dude said he was willing to die in here, and I thought he might have. I thought he was about to die. I'm not gonna lie to you. So
No, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, go. I mean,
No,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that. No, I actually do gain a good amount of respect for him for that exact reason. Because if Joe Rogan hadn't brought it up, he was just gonna continue and not say anything.
No, exactly. And I think one with his last couple performances, we have seen the dog. Like he can bring out something crazy for a guy who not a lot of stock has been put into him, at least by me. You know, I even took Luque in this one. You know, listen, but this dude, hands down, is one of the toughest dudes that I've seen. And like, there are people who tap to something so quickly. There are people who get down and you know they put their hand over their head and like they just let it in. Trayshawn Gore truly has no quit in him. You know, like this is that is again seeing this dude's tooth on the coach's hand, that is some shit that like I understand why people think this is crazy. And
Yeah, I mean, fair, but we're giving a whole hell of a lot of praise to a guy that A went to decision with Vicente Luque and B got his fucking teeth knocked out. I mean, I get it. You are correct. He is a tough guy. He does. I have never, in all the criticisms of Trayshawn Gore, it has never been this guy doesn't try. He's not one of those guys. Like, you know the difference when it's a guy that's going in there and just going through the motions. He always does try. It's just that it has always felt like he's just frankly lacking. I mean, that's just
mm,
how it's felt. Now, if he is in prison, he said, I'm done smoking weed. I'm not watching porn anymore. Like, okay to all of those things. I still need to see more, man. You should have finished Vicente Luque if this was going to be the case. Luque in that second round, like you said, I don't know why he let the choke go. You're saying like that, oh, which one of those rounds or whatever, he at least got one, or maybe I said that, but the point is that he had the choke, his signature choke sunk in the second round. He decided to let it go. I was like, I don't know why he didn't just try to get the adjustment in a tighter space to keep it going. But like, if it hadn't been for that, this could have been completely different. So my point is that yeah, Trayshawn Gore definitely tough, but where's the meat here?
that's what I started out the conversation with, and I still stick to that. Is for all the fights that you could have lost your teeth in, I would have hoped you wanted it to be a war. But the fact you went through 3 rounds of not much, and then you end up losing your four front bottom teeth at the bell, basic kind of deal. I feel for Trayshawn Gore because that is an unfortunate circumstance. Thankfully, he's no longer smoking because you're gonna have some open sores in your mouth for a while, brother. You know, and it screws up his trajectory. You know,
Yeah.
with something like this happening, obviously, I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't have got kneed in the face. You know, it's just something that can happen in the sport. He's getting good momentum, and now he's sidelined for a fucking year. I don't know, bro. I mean, dude,
Eh,
you're saying Robert
maybe. I mean,
Whitaker was fucked up. This
eh,
dude got his teeth fully.
bro,
Yeah.
they put in some false ones. He's got the little semi permanents in there.
It
He'll be
might
all right.
need
He'll be all
like
right.
surgery, bro. I don't know. Like, that's scary to me. So I
Could
really
be.
feel for Gore, and this is again one of the reasons why I'm not personally partaking in any of this is because I would not be okay with that. I'm not gonna just walk out and be like, man, I did that great performance, because now you have to wait until you get your mouth fixed. It's not just the fight ends and it's like in 20 minutes everything's cured. It's like now he has to sit there with a mouth that hurts for months. For months, brother. I don't know. That shit it does not look fun. Let me
Yeah,
say that.
fair enough, fair enough. I just think that this, this was not necessarily a close fight. I mean, like there were, it was noticeable that Gore was up at least a couple of times, in this fight to make it that. I mean, again, I don't think 30-27 really tracks, but at least 29-28, I'm okay with. That needs to change against an opponent of this caliber. Like if you really are about it, but Tresean Gore is a tough guy, so we're getting a little bit of that special treatment there. I'm sure he'll be back fighting plenty more in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that takes us to the next fight here, which of course is Dante Johnson versus Eric McConaughey. And, if there was any question in the last fight with Dante Johnson, they were saying, oh, he came in a little bit, injured. There was a couple of behind the scenes things that may have been factoring in on that fight. Certainly looked well improved in this one. I mean, the movement was all there. I think they had said that it was a foot injury last time that might have been hampering some of that. All gas, no brakes Johnson over here. He's fun. He's reckless though. And this time it worked out for him.
This one, I mean, he definitely proved me wrong. I'm not necessarily going to say I'm the biggest Eric McConaughey fan, but take a pick when you don't necessarily believe in somebody fully. I think is always good, because when you're proven wrong, you'll remember that, of course. So I'm going to remember Dante Johnson beating Eric McConaughey, upsetting him, of course. But like you said, it's wild, it's reckless. I there's not really much to even say. I mean, he just clocked him. I mean, it was just as easy as he decided I'm going to punch him in the face, and that's exactly what he did. I think the most interesting thing going forward, and I think this is where, you know, his career is something that he's going to have to navigate. This dude's talking about going down to 170. Brother, you just cut down from heavyweight. Or did if you wanted to go to 70, you could. Why didn't you do that in one fell swoop kind of deal? Don't start racking up wins here and go here and try to come back here. Like, if you go to 70 and lose, then what? You come back to 85 and start winning again. It's like he's talking about 3 belts, brother.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, this guy, bro, like, you're talking about 3 division champion. You just beat Eric McConaughey. Let's pump the brakes just a little bit on that.
Yeah, no, it's funny because nobody even thought 3 belts ever until Alex had the opportunity. If he would have went out here and be like, "Man, I want to be a UFC double champ," it's like, okay, that's normal. But bro, you you just said the triple champ. He didn't even attain it. Like, what are we talking about, Dante? Like, I mean, I get a level of confidence is good, but I need to be able to see like this is some stone cold killer with that level of confidence, and he's good, very very good. But I think him trying to navigate different weights is his mind is in the wrong spot right now. I mean, again, you clocked Eric McConaughey, that's good, but it definitely seems like you were looking past him. You're ready to get 3 belts. Eric McConaughey was nothing to you, so he needs to start recognizing the moment, because Eric McConaughey is not very good,
Well,
and you got a really wild 1-2 kind of deal that you threw. So
that was going to be to my point, basically, is that, as I had said, the recklessness is fun to watch. But I mean, this dude, first of all, even like if he decides to drop down, he probably will still even be a little undersized. But like he's fighting at middleweight already here. I mean, like, he's a somewhat undersized middleweight. Going back up, if he wants to do 3 divisions, if those are the 3 divisions, he's going to be undersized almost, I would say, at the least in the top 2, in the upper 2 of those. So, like, you're an undersized guy to begin with. You're using your movement effectively to an extent here now, which is great. But when you're throwing with the recklessness that you do, which again, very fun to watch. I mean, it's, bull in a china shop, this guy, which is, it's fan friendly, the fight style, but you are leaving yourself open for counters all day long with the way that he crashes into his opponents. So I'm like, I respect it because you are going balls to the wall and it's fun for us. But like, I think that you got to be conscious of like that being something that can be a double-edged sword, and I think that there's going to be instances that might end up biting him in the ass when he's going all gas no brakes like he does.
yeah, I appreciate the performance. I mean, it's good to showcase that like he wasn't gonna play with his food kind of deal. Like, he is gonna get it done and not just gas out later. So good performance, but again, really wild with the striking. And just mind is on the wrong fucking thing. Like that's just where I would say this is again, because it's not just about the performance itself. It's like you give key portions of your personality when you get on the mic after. It's like the emotions are high, it's just kind of right off the cusp what you think you can remember that you were supposed to say. And this dude really said three division champ. So that's interesting.
We'll see if he can achieve it. I mean, at least back, or continuing the trajectory towards it, if that's what he wants.
Dante Johnson, listen, and I'm putting stock into you right now that if you want to be a three division champion, I need you to do me a quick favor and just get one. If you get one, I'll believe in it a little more. But as of right now, I'm gonna say that is off the table. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, one belt at a time, right? I guess that makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
think Jordan Sparks made a song about that one time.
All right. Well, there you have it. Moving on to the next one here. This is Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Chapolin. Of course, this is the aforementioned Chapolin who I talked about when we were doing the review of the Contender Series. This is the man who was on Tough. He was on the Contender Series, now in the UFC, losing in all three places. How about that?
Yeah, this was interesting because we all know Charles Johnson in a way is like your Neil Magny. I mean, he is not necessarily he is your gatekeeper, of course, but he is at a I would say a higher level in terms of the division because Charles Johnson can sincerely upset some really good fucking people. And Neil Magny's to the point where the really good people go through him and he'll upset the people that are not really great. Chapolin, I mean, this dude had a really good performance, I would say. It looked good. He dropped him. It looked like the performance that Charles Johnson, there are times where he starts getting rocked and you can see it on his face. He's very expressive that it's like, I just got to go through the motions and we just got to get this one done. Movement, listen to my coach, but I'm getting hit hard and it's rocking me all over the place. So Charles Johnson does a really good job of, trying to stay composed, but sometimes I feel like he does get a little overwhelmed. In this moment, the first two rounds were not looking great for him. He was still there, he was fine, but then he gets dropped, and the recovery was crazy because we've seen him get dropped and he's normally quick to it. But this one, I mean, he got right back on the single leg and they started wrestling for a minute. And, he survived the round. And then we get to the third round. And then what do you know? Charles Johnson pulls off the one of the crazier things ever because now that it is common, of course, now that it is a layman's submission, you see how easy it is to set up when people just start trying to contort their bodies in your fucking guard. I mean, it's really just a wraparound and then they're cooked. They have nothing else. And Chapolin was really to the point where he was kind of exhausted. So a submission was likely anyhow, anyway. If he would have got him in an RNC, he probably would have tapped, and fair play to him. He went out there, balls at a wall, short notice, yada, yada, yada. But for Charles Johnson, and I'm not saying Charles Johnson isn't some elite level grappler, but I think it should show everybody just how easy something like this can be when your opponent is making a small, simple mistake in the grappling. And this was by far one of the more, because again, Charles Johnson is not the elite level grappler like a Bryce Mitchell or whoever else had got the other ones. This is a different style twister. This is the one that Murtazali got,
A
but
Scottish twister here.
yes, or as other people have said, it is also the Japanese twister and or the other region's twister. Either way, Charles Johnson getting this should let a lot of people know, like, okay, it's that easy. Like I don't
Well,
really have to do much.
and that's kind of to the point I was going to make there is that like you call it a layman submission. It's just only becoming that now. I mean, like
Yes,
because now people are doing it more. I mean, this we are witnessing a new meta in the sport like happening in real time here, which is kind of cool. I mean, like we're seeing a submission that had never been accomplished, and now we've seen it twice in so many months. I mean, like we just saw it recently with the dude who made his debut, and now here with our dude Charles Johnson.
no, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is one that could catch on very easily. I mean, I'm not saying it is a twister. It's a little different than the traditional twister, of course. But in the terms of like in the past like 5 years, we've had four of them or whatever. Like so, it is becoming a more traditional thing, a more orthodox style of grappling, and I think it is something that, again, I'm not trying to in no way discredit Charles Johnson, but for the optics, I'm like, oh, that looks that looks like an easy thing that you should be able to pull off if they make that subtle mistake, you know. And I think Charles Johnson being able to showcase that, like, I'm good at everything, you know. I have these little nooks and crannies to my game. I think he's doing some good stuff, man. Charles Johnson once again keeps his name relevant, and I think this is awesome.
I loved it. I mean, now, as you had said, Chapolin was having a pretty good fight, even though he was fighting rather dirty. I mean, this dude got, two blatant fouls within 30 seconds of one another, to the point that Jason Herzog actually took a point, which I was like, man, let's fucking go. Some actual refereeing for once. That's nice to see. But yeah, I mean, this dude Chapolin, he hits the eye poke, then he has the knee to the downed opponent. And they're on commentary, oh, he was trying to pull the knee back. He hit the foul. What do you, foul's a foul's a foul. I mean, I think it was Hydra and I believe CTE say that often, and I really like that mentality. It's like, this is the only sport where intention seems to matter. It's like it's a foul is a foul one way or another. So you take the point. I was happy with the point take on that with the two fouls back to back. But so either way, though, Chapolin's still having a pretty good fight up until this point of the twister, and like you said, Charles Johnson. I don't know if it's the age or it's the fact that he fights so very frequently. I think we were talking about this last week, where I was saying that, like, this guy he was already talking about he wants to be back in like 3 months. Like, bro, you're speed running your fights for, like, I mean, maybe it's because of the age. I guess you want to get out as much as you can until you're not able to do so anymore. But, like, you're really putting yourself at risk, and it shows in the optics. Like you said, he takes these shots. He's on his bike. He's running around. He's circling out. He's got to get the distance. Got to get himself back in the fight. You can do that and get yourself back to the point of being there. But, like, we all see this. We're all recognizing that you're hurt and you're recovering at that point. So it wasn't looking good for him through 2 rounds, I thought, even with the point deduction. And then out of nowhere, he pulls this out from his back pocket. And shout out to Bleeding Edge, who was saying that he was talking about having trained this regularly and wanted to show it off in competition here. So I'm glad that he was able to do it. It's cool that we're seeing it more often, but it worries me for Charles Johnson in the big picture that, like, it's great that you were able to get that in that moment, but I don't know if you're always going to have that opportunity. And if you're constantly having to pull something out of the hat at the, when you're down 2 rounds, potentially, even if it was going to be, 9-9 with one, but you know what I'm saying? All things equal, if you're down and having to reach into the bag of tricks, I worry in the big picture with that. And I do recognize that he's probably never going to be champion, and he's still just kind of upper in the division and somewhat of a gatekeeper, whatever. I'm a fan of Charles Johnson. I want him to do well. And I think that there are just some things that he does as far as his navigation that are slightly concerning in the big picture here.
Yeah, and I think 10-7 makes a great point here. Sub of the candidate on the giving and receiving end. Because if you remember, it was not too long ago that this dude was just in a Soliev stretch. So that isn't that crazy. I mean, he really turned the tables.
And in another one that we'll talk about in a little while, that was almost attempted, and we've been seeing more of those lately as well. So again, we're seeing a new submission meta going on right now, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's really nice to see that for a sport that is 2 people and just whatever their bodies are capable of, it's cool to see that there's still an evolution going on. I love that part of it.
Absolutely. Shout out Charles Johnson. Sincerely.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Really, really cool here. And I mean, as far as Chapolin goes, I'm not a huge fan of this guy. Like, I don't know if there's just something about him that I don't like. I feel the same way about him as I do about Tobias. But I do feel for him, as he has now had these 3 opportunities and none of them have panned out. So
yeah, he's got to get another one, because this was on short notice, and they clearly like him. They'll give him the opportunity. He's picked up the phone. They'll give him another one.
Fair enough. He's going to get that Popic treatment.
Well, and it's flyweight too. It's like they can't be too. We can't kick out Manel for being on steroids. We can't kick out Tamirov for being on steroids. KKF, we got to keep him around. He's out there somewhere. We have to have a lot of these people on retainer. So I think Chapolin is in a good predicament to have an opportunity called up for him.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see if he can pull it off next time then, perhaps.
Speaking of pulling it off next time.
Well, I mean, that's the story of this fight. So this is Chidi Njokuani versus Joel Alvarez. What we said last week, or at least I know I said it last week, is I said that, I know that both of us and the entire world that's been paying attention has already known that Joel Alvarez at this weight is not performing anywhere near as well as he was at 55. So we were like, look, we need to see something out of this guy. I think those were my exact words. I was like, I need to see something out of you in this fight, Joel Alvarez. What did I see? Fucking nothing. I saw nothing out of Joel Alvarez. I saw Chidi and Njokuani using some nice Muay Thai. I saw Mannequin Alvarez.
No, this one, great performance by Chidi, but obviously the real talk is about Yoel Alvarez. This guy is, I think what it was is that when he was down in division, his power was translating a lot differently. Because in this fight, I mean, Chidi, at the end of the day, Muay Thai is amazing and he's very technical. That's the thing that he made Yoel Alvarez, like he made me realize that like, oh, there's like no technique there, bro. Like he just throws punches and he just hopes that he lands a jab and then he can just set up some wild combination. Like at 55, it might have worked and people kind of respected it. But Chidi and Njokuani is a dude that he is no spring chicken. He's been defeated before. You know, we've seen stuff happen. This dude just got fucking choked out in 30 seconds by random NPC Aussie fucking Jake Matthews. Did he not? Like, this is crazy to think that Yoel Alvarez comes in here, puts on this just absolute snoozer of a performance, of course. Shout out Chidi for actually making it something to like. We're watching it, and you get to ridicule Yoel even more because Chidi is just getting off on him every single time. And then when they're getting their fucking hand raised, bro, Yoel Alvarez, he hears 30-27, 30-27, and then you see his hands start itching like, yeah, I fucking got that shit. And then he says Chidi and Njokuani, he lets off a big, fuck, and then smiles on his way out of there.
Oh,
Are
he
we
was smiling.
fucking for real, bro?
He's smiling throughout the whole of this. I said, yeah, Joel's smiling all the way through this shit performance. I mean, again, it's not like you said, Chidi and Njokuani kicks were great. I thought that there was a lot of decent striking, even if it was a very point fighty fight overall. But it was all points on Chidi's side because this dude Joel Alvarez did nothing with his length. I mean, like Chidi was using his length effectively, so you can say, oh, Joel was being kept at distance. Joel's tall too. He's got long legs too. They're not that dissimilar in their body types. So, like, if one guy is having a tremendous amount of success with the range striking, and you are a guy who is a comparable body type, where is your version of that? Like you said, it doesn't seem like there's a technique there that lends itself to that style of fighting. And he was able to be a weight bully, is what it just seems like when he was at the lower weight. That's all that I'm getting out of this at this point.
I cannot tell you what is more frustrating. And again, I don't gamble on these fights because it will get the best of me for reasons like this. If you are having a good time doing nothing and you are smiling and you're hugging and having high five moments, bro, I'm like about to stop caring about you. Like, why are you doing that? Like, I kind of understand that this was like a short-ish notice for Yoel Alvarez, but none of the things that should have been the reason that he lost were because of a short notice issue. It's like, bro, you know who Chidi and Njokuani is. Like, you have plenty of tape. You were already in camp for something else, probably. Like, you're still training, you're still active. It's not like you came in here fat. Like,
He
you just
asked for this fight.
thank you. Oh my goodness, you make a great point.
Yeah, you're out here. Like, this was supposed to be. You asked for this fight with the idea. Hopefully, I mean, at least in your own mind, I would think, and what we were the impression we were getting, that you were going to show something in this fight specifically. I want this fight. Put me in, coach.
Yeah,
For what?
this one was so bad, bro. And we had talked about it. This is a great fight for Yoel because it's not too high level where it feels undeserving. Where it's like, man, they're really giving him another chance against someone who we don't think he deserves it. No, he took a fight against somebody who was mid level, and maybe even lower than that. I'm sorry to say, Chidi, but for the division, we've seen straight killers lately. This was a fight that Yoel Alvarez was supposed to prove that he is one of them at this division, and what he proved was it was it was under what anyone could have expected. Like, this is the performance that makes nobody care about you. Like, this is Yoel Alvarez. Who cares when you fight next? I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it really, the what it's come down to for me at this point is cut the weight or get cut from the org. I mean, like, I'm not saying that he's at that point of actually getting cut yet, but like, it feels that way as far as like the interest level. Like, bro, you're not doing it at this weight. It's just a blatant fact at this point. I mean, especially in a fight like this that you were supposed to show out in. I mean, like, this was supposed to be the thing that advanced you. Now you have regressed with this in a very blatant way. You only have a couple of options at this point, I would say.
I don't know what it is, and I'm gonna make a connection here that I don't even think is really there. But if I'm gonna just spitball ideas, Joel Alvarez, for the longest time, we were saying that the organization was holding him hostage at 55. But I think in the background they kind of knew, like, brother, you're gonna need, it's gonna be better for you, you know. And so by the time that he gets what he wants and he's at welterweight, we're seeing a less disciplined version, I would say. From what we're seeing now, there's no evolution to the game. There's no locked in version of Yoel Alvarez. This is a guy who said, "Now I don't really want to cut as much weight anymore, and I don't really want to, I guess, take it as serious anymore." Like he really just went through the motions of this fight, you know, which is something that he's been doing recently. But at a time, this is a guy who is a premier level finisher. So the fact that this is where we're at now, it's not looking great, and I don't think he's going to get any favors from the organization for fighting like that. So
No, I agree entirely. So shout out to Cheaty. I mean, fine win here. We got to see some good Muay Thai on display. I thought, good kicks were going off from his side. But yeah, Joel, it's a whole new world for you now, brother. It really is, and everybody is catching on.
yeah.
All right, let's move on
What's
to
up,
the.
Didgery Dave
Oh yes, of course. Shout out to Didgery Dave,
and
always, brother.
Lachlan?
And Lachlan. Yeah, locked in, Lachlan.
Yes.
Anyway, all right, moving on to the next fight here. Edson Barbosa in his retirement fight against Esteban Ribovics. I mean, this was about what we were kind of expecting from this fight. Ribovics showed out as he was supposed to do, so you can't really fault him for that. It really did show that it probably is exactly the right time for Barbosa to retire. And, really, I mean, you can go over the X's and O's, but it was just a lot of Ribovics movement. He's fast, he's powerful, his strikes were on point. Good, his movement is always very impressive, and fast hands, fast feet is the way that I described Esteban Ribovics here, and it was especially noticeable against Edson, who is on the other side of that.
Edson, at the end of the day, I figured he was going to be a tank. I mean, he did as best as he could, taking the damage until the ref had to just, it was to a point where the commentators, the fans, we all were like, yeah, he's just got to get up out of there, man. I
He
mean,
seemed like the last one to get it. He apparently a little bit of a conversation with Herb Dean, and when he was getting stopped or whatever. But I think everybody felt very comfortable with the stoppage.
yeah, I think everybody even felt like this was kind of piss poor matchmaking. Like you really gave him somebody that was going to whoop his ass, like on it, and like that's the way you want to be challenged. You want to overcome obstacles, but I think Edson Barbosa it takes the sport very seriously. Let me start it with that. And so when you see his walkout, it was already, the vibes were not great because he saw his kids and the emotions hit him. And so he was crying on the way to the cage, and it's like
Yeah.
that's never a good sign. The emotions were obviously getting the best of him. So going into the fight and knowing that his kids are about to witness this, of course, and like how is that going to make him feel? Maybe he expected better. Maybe this is how he wanted this. I'm a real warrior. You're going to see that dad's strong. Whatever you want to say. But I think it was an unfortunate matchmaking because Ribovics is good. Obviously, the power is not necessarily there because he probably could have got this done in one round if it was. But the volume is great. The technicality is great. He's got a weird physiology to his body. He's got really short arms, so like I don't know, he covers up really well his torso. I think he's just like really compact, but I don't know. He's not necessarily short. It's just interesting build. But and the post fight stuff, there's really nothing much else to say. I mean, he really just got the best of him. Edson has definitely had worse ass whoopings, but like you said, we all felt that it was time for it to finish. And his post fight speech, that was a little good. His little retirement speech was cool. Ribovics, this is the fight that he always wanted, and I feel like he made a good point. Like, I did my duty. I don't know if he actually said this on the post fight or maybe I saw this on a clip after, but I did my duty as a fighter. I gave him all that I could in his retirement fight, and I feel good about that. It's like that was the best performance that I could have had against him. So it's
Yeah, and
cool.
I absolutely, and that's why Esteban Ribovics did exactly what he was supposed to do in this fight, and there's no fault at all to him on that one. Yeah, no, I mean it was emotional as a fan of Edson Barbosa. I mean, watched this man for many years. He'd been in the UFC for a very long time. They gave some of his stats at the end here: 18 UFC wins, 5 headline appearances, 13-time bonus winner. So I mean, this is a guy who was very tenured. Absolutely a Hall of Famer, I would say, coming up at some point in the future. You saw the emotion coming into the fight. You saw the emotion on the other side of the fight. This is a tried and true fighter who really gave his everything to this sport. And I thought it was, like you had said, the matchmaking was unfortunate in this regard. They probably could have given him like a dude who did really, really well in the Contender Series. That could have been a fine way to go out as well. But we just
Miller.
do I
Just
say that?
Jim
What?
Miller,
Yeah, yeah, you could have done that too, I guess. Vet versus vet, perhaps, but
Bobby
that
Green,
that
like
that ain't how it works, brother. We just saw Darren Elkins go up against Yadier Del Valle. You know how this goes.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it was unfortunate for that. What I wanted to say too, I thought it was a little unfortunate for Esteban, really, because Esteban is coming off of a high-profile loss to Mateusz Gamrot and a win over a guy who's going out. I don't know, like, does this really put him on track as like, okay, this is now the catalyst. The only thing I said to that is that maybe, this is now one more win if you build up a win streak. So, 2 wins now is 3 wins kind of thing. That's good, but like it doesn't really show us more for Esteban Ribovic. So I think it's kind of bad matchmaking on both sides. But aside from that, again, this sort of went as it was supposed to. And for a send-off, just shout out to Edson Barbosa and everything he's accomplished in his career.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, this one straight ass whooping, for
Yeah.
Ribovics. I appreciated it.
Oh, and I did want to touch on this as well, because I know that this is something that came up. It's coming up in the chat right now, and it's something that came up on the watch along. Edson Barbosa specifically did not want a video package. Just
He was probably gonna cry that entire time if he saw that stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that John Anik said that, because had he, I caught, he said it very quickly at the beginning of the fight, so I think a lot of people missed it, and including myself at the time. I caught it on the rewatch, but yeah, so I think it's important, because I know that a lot of people felt like this guy did not get a video package, like that's outrageous, but he specifically did not want one, so just keep that in mind.
And to everybody, talking about what does this do for Ribovic stock, saying Hydra saying complete dud for Esteban doesn't raise or lower his stock for a complete nothing burger. He was talking about how he wanted to fight Edson. He had grown up watching him. This is South American mixed martial arts. He had been familiar with somebody who had been in the game for this long. I think that this was okay because he got to have a moment that in his career not many people can say that I got to face and retire my idol, or whatever you would like to say to that. So
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. And again, this is the job. You did what you're
yeah,
supposed to do. So really, there's no fault on either side. But again, shout out to Edson Barbosa, definitely a legend of the sport.
100%.
And shout out to Vegas Golden Knights 20 having us on the 75-inch 4K flat screen. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being here.
And for subscribing, I just saw that a minute ago as well.
Hey, well, thank you for that. Appreciate that too.
Touch
All
the
right.
palm, cut the blood, or whatever.
Hey, yeah. Cut the hand, touch the blood. Absolutely appreciate it. All right. Well, that brings us on to the next fight here. And, I was shouting out Chase Parton left and right for this one. This is Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dustin Stoltzfus. And I mean, okay, let me just say this off rip. I was watching our good friends over at the 10-7. They do a pre-show and another good subscription over there. If you're not already subscribed to the 10-7 MMA, I was watching their pre-show, and I believe it was our friend DS over on that show who was saying he wasn't very high on Mansour Abdul Malik. And I was like, this is not the only time I have heard that. I've heard that from a couple of people, that it's like, oh, this guy might not be all he's cracked up to be. A couple of wins might not have been looking like what you'd want to see. That there might have just been some things here. All of that being said, I certainly did not think that this was how this fight was going to play out with Dustin Stoltzfus, but you know who did? Mr. Chase Parton. He did.
Yeah, no, this one, I did shit on this card, and we'll talk about that later, of course. But this pick right here, it's just sometimes when you're really confident in somebody that you really shouldn't have that much confidence in, and they pull it off emphatically at that. it does feel pretty good because I had somebody in my chat, you know, they're like, "Ah, Mansoor, man, he's a bully, man. He's gonna knock him out, and he's doing good." And I'm like, I don't know, it ain't happened yet, brother. I mean, we're halfway through this first round, and the most that we've gotten, which this was something that was criticized in the Cody Brundage fight with Mansoor, and that ended up being a no contest, is because he actually no, it ended up going to decision or some shit like that. Anyway, he headbutt Cody Brundage. They ended the fight TKO decision, something like that. It was a weird thing.
Yeah, it was
It
weird.
might have even got overturned, but this right here was when I realized that, oh, Mansoor really loves those little headbutts, bro. So the first round ended, and I'm like, Mansoor didn't land nothing really. He landed a couple shots, sure, but Dustin Stoltzfus had a bloody nose from a goddamn headbutt, brother. It wasn't nothing crazy. So obviously we had a good first round. Dustin Stoltzfus gets the slam, I think, or late in that round, which was they were talking about that's his thing. He's a slam. He's got most slams. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? I ain't never seen this dude slam nobody. But there, I'll take it. Shout out, yeah. Dustin came out here. One thing, there was a part that actually Dustin Stoltzfus, as a guy who is a fan, legitimately, I'm worried for you because if you remember back when he fought um, Bruno Fajeda, the spinning back elbow, after that fight, he said he had nerve damage in his face. Like his shit was like all fucked up. In this fight, after they collided heads, this was the second time that happened in the first round, by the way. So this was already after he had a bloody nose. He got knocked in the head, right in the nose again, the nose that he just got fixed, which we'll talk about, of course, as well. And like his face like locked up, and he had to like, I don't know what he did. It was really weird, but he had to like make sure his face was still on. It was the weirdest thing, and I'm worried for you, bro, because that looked like I don't know. Like if you remember Jared Cannonier when like his hands kind of like did that like weird flex thing,
Yeah.
this was like that. I was like, oh, dude, that's concerning. Like he tanked through it. You know, he kind of like wiped his face off and he was good. But I was like, Joe, I don't know. I was like, dude, that nerve damage really kind of screwed with him right there.
Uh,
So anyway,
yeah.
great power through. Love Dustin Stoltzfus being that tough tank. Had every had every answer. This is a guy who has answers in a lot of different varieties. They were talking about how he's a black belt, and it's not necessarily BJJ. It's a non-Gracie style of BJJ that he's a black belt in, by the way. So that is an interesting key because he had a lot of different techniques here that were looking pretty good. You know, they were talking about I ain't never seen nobody submit somebody with their knee on his neck. He's doing this. I was like, man, Dustin making a good case out here for fans like me. Mansoor really, I mean, sometimes you just get a dude who's just not going to stop whipping you. You know, the fight goes to multiple spots. Dustin can get those to those multiple spots. And if Mansoor can't get up, or if he can't fight back in some of these spots, you see exactly what happened. We get a rear naked choke at the end of the second. And shout out to Mansoor. He didn't tap immediately. I actually thought he might have been able to maybe work something out, but he tapped, and Dustin Stoltzfus made a guy like me look really good on this night. He really came to play, and I appreciate him.
He certainly did. Now, you know, I'm glad that you touched on the knee on the neck thing. This was a topic of conversation during the watch along. Knee pressure to the throat is not legal. So there, you know, this is like something that just kind of got overlooked. Now, I had said that, you know, strikes are not legal, but apparently also knee pressure to, you know, pressure on the neck or on the throat rather specifically is not legal. So, I mean, you know, something
Well,
that's kind of got overlooked.
no, that's like a legit submission thing. Like that's fine. You know, we're talking about no pressure on the neck when we literally watch people wrap up necks and squeeze them all
With
the time.
legs though, with legs,
But like,
knees and elbows.
yeah, but you could. What is a the fucking, oh my god, the shit that Nick Diaz did in Japan, the fucking Gogo Plata. That's literally putting the shin under the neck and pulling that. Like,
That's
come
not the
on,
knee though. The knee specifically.
the knee specifically. Again, I think that was that's a legitimate submission in my mind.
It
I
seemed
mean,
like it to me. I mean, I like, I don't know. I mean, apparently it's not though. So I'm just
a
saying.
gray area for sure. I think in the moment everybody's like, yeah, that's legit. But if you break down the rule, it's like, yeah, maybe he probably can't have his knee on his neck. But like I said, he comes from a non-traditional BJJ base, you know. So that might be something that he submitted plenty of
Look,
people with, you know.
I'm just telling you what the rules say. I, you know, take it for what it is. But either way, with all of that, this was a very fine showing for Dustin Stoltzfus. I agree. I mean, what I wanted to say, you know, we brought the Sulayev stretch earlier. He tried to pull one off in this fight at the end of that round, the end of round one, I believe. So I mean, like that was, you know, this dude was on some shit tonight, man. I mean,
He's
like,
got game, don't he?
yeah, it was it was almost one of the, like, it's not surprising because he is a high level fighter and you should expect that level of competition, but it was surprising in this fight specifically. I mean, this was a dude who, you got a nice mat return there. The ground striking was good. He landed a really nice sequential combination early on in the fight.
There was dude, the punch that he landed towards the end of the sequence where he kind of just, he had his knee on him and Mansoor's kind of like laying there not really doing anything, and he like cocks back as far as he can and just sticks him. It was so funny because like Dustin is really just one of the, that DC's talking about, that blue collar fighting style, just I'm gonna do anything to win. Like Dustin Stoltzfus is one of those dudes that just, he will get after it. There was a really funny point in this fight, and I bring it up. We haven't seen Mr. Tom Aspinall's return, but Dustin Stoltzfus got kicked in his eye
With the
and
big toe, yeah.
and he thought he was going to get some special treatment for a second, and everybody's like, no, 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 that's legal, brother. And credit to him, he continued to fucking fight.
And I had my question with that, and now we don't need to sidetrack too far, but it is interesting to me that fingers, problem, toes, also a similar appendage, not problem. I don't know. I mean, is there not something there a little bit? Like, if you're getting poked with a finger, I mean, obviously the makeup of the appendage is different, but is there not something to say that those are somewhat comparable and maybe could be considered as such?
I definitely agree with what you're saying. But
now, that ain't how the sport works.
But that ain't how it works, and I just appreciate, because in actuality, I've only seen that happen one other time. It was a females fight. I believe it was on UFC 215. I was doing a rewatch, and she got kicked, and she didn't even get kicked in the eye, but like you watched the replay and like the big toe like fluttered her eyelid, and she thought she was like fucked up. She was like, oh my God, I just got kicked in the eye. So she like fell over and like, it was over. And then like 5 seconds later, she was like, oh, I'm fine, kind of deal. So this one, it actually looked like he did get kicked right in the fucking eye somehow. So for him to put that aside, get headbutted to the point where I think his mask was falling off. This was a performance that a guy like me can rant and rave over. So I appreciate him.
For sure. And really, I think that one of the things there that seemed to be pretty apparent, especially when this thing ended up getting finished, is that Mansoor, like, there were some times where he was like really putting some decent shots out there. Like, I mean, there was a couple he had top position at one point. He's raining down shots. Somehow Stoltzfus just tanks all of that as well. So, I mean, like, this is a guy who obviously really tough. And I think Mansoor just basically tired himself out towards the end of this, end of when it would be finished,
This fight, what I don't think this is a new thing. Obviously, I'm going to say something that's very simple to say, but when I look at Mansoor and when I look at this loss, taking your first loss, it's not just like, oh, I lost, but like the mentality that you carry afterwards. I feel like Mansoor accepted that I could come back from a loss, So in this fight, it didn't look like he, with the Yusri Belgari fight, he dogged it out a little more than I think he did here. So in this fight, I'm like, it looked like he was okay losing because he's already done it. I've bounced back before, here I am in a fight, I have a new opportunity. If I lose now, I'll get to try again, kind of deal. That's just what it felt like. Obviously, losing 2 in a row is crazy, but like that first loss, I really think he's at terms with, I could lose and I'll get another opportunity, which is not going to happen for him for a while, and it doesn't happen for everybody. But this wasn't necessarily, listen, you got upset pretty bad, dude. Like, you're supposed to be the hot prospect. Dustin Stoltzfus, I would say they kind of were feeding him, and he got over on you, like, really bad.
Oh, yeah, and yet another unk upset over here. I mean, that certainly was what it is. And shout out to Dustin Stoltzfus for making it happen. But, I guess all of those people who saw the holes in Abdul Malik's game are starting to definitely, kind of take that and realize that they were correct. So shout out to them,
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal. All right. Well, that takes us to one of the feel-good stories of the evening here. Jalen Turner versus Coué Fernandez. This dude, Coué Fernandez, really tricked people into thinking that he was about it, bro. I told you, I said this on the last episode of this very show, that this guy is not up to snuff. And actually, another shout out to the 10-7 on this one. On their pre-show, Bam Bam was talking about the strength of Coué Fernandez's competition coming into this fight and how it essentially is a whole lot of padding. And I think we might have even talked about that a little bit too, right? I think that you brought that up. So, I mean, this guy really did a snow job on people thinking that he was better than he was, but Jalen Turner had already showed us that he was on the level. Yeah, he had a bit of a setback there. Some stuff mentally needed to get sorted out. Came back, had his big win over Edson Barbosa in his last fight, on the right track still with this very big knockout, very quick knockout as well.
I think like the thing about this that's crazy is I think we talk about matchmaking kind of screw people over. I think with the story and the momentum that Jalen Turner has, this makes sense. But if you have seen Jalen Turner fight before, you would understand that this dude is fucking good. Like he's not just good, he's lethal on the feet. I don't know if you saw, he's got 100% finish rate. So he at the end of the day, if you're gonna stand with him and strike, it gets crazy in there. And Coy Fernandez found out quick, found out early, didn't even have to do shit. It's funny too because Coy Fernandez just tried to do some shit. I'm just gonna throw a spinning elbow and just gets fucking cracked. Like it's like, what are you doing? Like you thought you could get away with something that Harry Hardwick would get caught with. It's like Jalen Turner is is good. Like he is an offensive weapon, and he is very very lethal. And when you talk about his story, with him retiring, it wasn't even a bad stretch that he was on. Like it's not like he lost four in a row and retired. He lost to Hernando Moicano and got subbed to Bahamundes. Like, okay, fair. He almost finished Moicano if it was a different ref. He literally almost did. Now, the Ignacio Bahamundes one, that's a decent little prospect. Okay, minor setback, big comeback. Obviously, the mental stuff was weighing on him, but it seems to be that Jalen Turner is back in a form that I had not seen in a while from him. And I don't even think he was this aggressive on offense before. And that's saying something because he is, again, lethal. But when it comes to how he walked into Edson Barbosa and how he just walked into this one, it's as if there's no fear in Jalen Turner anymore. Like this dude is crazy. He just walks in there, unloads, gets up out of there, and like I love it.
Yeah, no, it really does look like Turner 2.0. It really does. Like he seemed because I think I was even talking about this on the prediction, saying that like there is a potential for it to be more of a chess matchy kind of situation if Fernandez is going to come in with the leg kicks that he likes to do. Jalen is a little bit more tactical. It takes his time. He's not taking time anymore, and you know how I feel about fast starters, man. Jalen Turner coming out the gate hot. This was looking exactly like what you want to see. This is the next level of the progression here for him if he can keep this up, and I'm loving what I'm seeing now. This can he subsist on this when it gets to a point of a higher level opponent who maybe will meet fire with fire? That is going to be the question that I have when it comes to how he's approaching these fights. Because if we're talking about Edson Barbosa on the tail end of his career, Coy Fernandez not on the level. We're gonna have to see how he does against somebody who's going to be is on the level and is going to meet him halfway with this. But if this is how he starts his fights with the IQ that he already had, now we said also last week a lot of these losses, not losses that he should have taken, but that is in the past mentality. This could be the new version of that. So if he has all of the pieces in place with the fight IQ plus this level of intensity, he can certainly go far, and he may be best some of the better guys.
Well, and I think this is what's key. I'm not going to say Jalen Turner, he does have the skills. He does have all the skills. I think implementing them is definitely a different story when, I think truly though the confidence that if he walks into all of the opponents right now in the top 15 with this level of determination to finish the fight this early, I don't know who's not going to back up, and I think that's what's key. I mean, Jalen Turner, he's going to walk people down, and if these hands can continue flying, I mean, he's got great kicks too, and he does have a submission game. I don't know if you knew, he's got a submission win over Uros Medic. So who else does that? Mixbek Warabai, don't talk about him anymore. But Jalen Turner, on the other hand, I really think that he's going to do something really good on this return. And I'm not trying to put so much stock into it because, again, you're right. Fernandez, the skill, whatever, Edson Barbosa, tail end. But he can hang with the top people.
And he
Split
already
decision.
did. I mean, like he was already
Exactly.
doing that. So yeah,
And he's still very young. He still has a lot to prove. I think this is very good. This is very good for Jalen Turner. I really like the new form that he's in.
Yeah, very much so. Same. Unfortunate that they cut his post-fight interview on Paramount. By the way, something I wanted to mention. Did you have something you want to
Well,
jump in there?
to Vegas Golden Knights' point, I'm not saying Taporia would not murk him, but I'm saying Jalen Turner can make a lot of people back up with this level of determination to end the fight early. And whoever can take the shot, that's up to that. That ain't on me to determine. If there's a lot of people in the top 15 with glass jaws. Look at Moicano, obviously not a glass jaw, but he got dropped square on his back. And who's done that to him since? So that's just a point that I'll make there. But
yeah, well, and also, I mean, like, we're not necessarily saying that, I mean, we have to see. We got to find
yeah,
out what he's going to end up doing. I mean, this is the new version of him. So, I mean, like, yeah, the point is right now he can get to that position potentially, and that's really what we're getting at, I think. But yeah, so back to the point I was making though. So yeah, Paramount again. I've said it several times. I put out shorts about this. Had to mention it again here. Paramount, with all of their terrible editing, Paramount paid $7.7 billion for this company and does not care about MMA. They cut off Jalen Turner's post-fight interview. Okay, maybe that's not so bad, but I didn't mention it during the fight. Tobias and Fernando, second round, gone. Just we went from round 1 to round 3. Just saying, if you're watching these on VODs, you are getting cheated by Paramount Plus. Just had to say that. Other than that, I did think it was kind of funny that my last note about the fight is that Rogan said that Kue Fernandez was complaining about the stoppage. He wasn't. He was just sitting there. I thought it was Rogan's like, oh, he's not happy about it. He's complaining. He's like, no, he was so dazed, sitting there silently. He had nothing to say.
We will definitely talk about Rogan being on something tonight because he had his moments on commentary for sure. He dropped the F-bomb like 3 times, which was funny. But
yeah, I mean, at least they're okay with that on Paramount. But any which way, I just thought that was something that has to be noted here because they just keep screwing this sport over that they just paid all this money for.
I feel bad for Fernandez because I think this was one of those false sense of reality type deals where he thought because I could leg kick Harry Hardwick in a couple rounds that Jalen Turner was going to be some easy fuck around and find out shit, and Jalen is, I mean, guys, the tarantula is really not the name that is fitting. Like, this dude is really the Grim Reaper right now. Like, I mean, Kevin Durant, the Slim Reaper. I think Jalen Turner, you could don the mantle, brother. But
yeah, keep doing what you're doing right now, and it certainly looks a lot better fight over fight. I would agree with that. All right. Well, that does take us to the drop off of the card. It would feel this is Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson, of course, for the strawweights women's title here. Look, I mean, we both picked Jillian. We both got this one wrong. I don't think that either of us could have known that it was going to be this poor a performance for Robertson. This was not a masterclass for Dern, I thought. I mean, granted, this was a dominant performance, undeniably so. But this was really
48-47 hilarious, just off rip. But.
Oh, yeah. Who gave this man judging privileges, brother? But yeah, no, this was not a masterclass necessarily, but it was a surprisingly, shockingly bad performance by Robertson, I would say. I mean, this was one of those instances where I really feel that I just think that the moment got the better of her and she just wasn't able to snap out of it until way, way, way too late into this fight.
This was all, the entire story of this one is confidence. I mean, you had Mackenzie Dern, who they always talk about, you get 10% better when you become champion. Most of that is confidence. You're the best in the world now. Nobody can tell you different. So I'm going to play my game. They got to play to my rules kind of deal. And I think Mackenzie Dern, she had a great mentality coming in here. The striking actually looked, listen, Mackenzie Dern put on a champion's level performance against who she had going against her. I mean, she dominated. This was, listen, if Whaley did exactly this, we'd be drooling. I mean, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't the best, but it was domination to what Mackenzie Dern's game is.
Sure.
She got to play her game for 5 rounds. That and that level of confidence really is what set the tone. Because Jillian, I mean, did you see the clip of her doing in the back doing the boxing, doing the little uppercuts?
Yeah, I think so. It just not looking great.
The vibes were just off from there. It's like you're watching that and it's like, where's the intensity? You're about to fight, like, bro, anybody else is looking at the camera doing their little thing. Like, she looked like she was fake locked in kind of deal. Like, all right, camera's on, let's just do something kind of deal. And then when she walks out, she's singing along to the pimp song, whatever you want to call it, PIMP, and it just didn't really look like she was ready for a title fight.
I kind of noticed that. I kind of noticed that at the weigh-ins too, that she kind of like, and I don't usually watch like a lot of the weigh-ins, but just the little clips that I saw, that just had this like kind of far off like look about her at sometimes. Now, look, you don't. I'm not one of these people that's like sitting there analyzing body language or anything like that. But then when you see what happened in the fight, it's like now you're starting to connect dots.
Yeah, like I don't again, she's a big pot smoker, maybe she just really wasn't as mellow as she normally wants to be. Maybe she's just up here when she needs to be down here. I don't know. But there was definitely a size disadvantage here. I mean, when you listen, Mackenzie Dern is talked about for having a butt, but her thighs are just as big, guys. Like her compared to Jillian, like Jillian is a really skinny girl compared to Mackenzie Dern. Like that was very apparent in this. Even the arms, like Mackenzie Dern has been in the fucking gym. It definitely shows. She looks like she's tacked on more mass and then willing to take a bigger cut. She's probably been able to make the cut pretty easily and probably figured I could do this. Jillian, I think this is, I don't know if you saw the tweet going around of her last five opponents or whatever with a
Yeah.
combined record of 0-19.
I saw it the day of the fight, and it really was like, ooh, that really is now giving me pause.
And again, I talked about with Fernandez, I talked about it with Devalle. I think a false sense of skill set. Like she did believe she was the best in the world at a time, and maybe there was a realization when the fight came that like the reality kind of caught up to her. Like maybe I'm not the one to do this right now. Like it was unfortunate because I thought the games complemented each other, and I thought Jillian could have had opportunities to win, and Mackenzie Dern even left openings for like. There was a time where she was just sitting on her stomach trying to go for a dumbass knee bar. Like Jillian, just fucking punch her in the fucking like.
Well, yeah, I mean, so that does bring me to my points about this, where I mean, like Robertson did have little spikes of moments, but they were late in this fight. I mean, she did win, I think, the fifth round. Like like she stole a round away at the way too late point of this. It's like it really felt like there was just not the realization that you have to snap in quicker, which to the next point kind of comes from a little bit now. I know a lot has been talked about this. We don't need to go all into the whole Dean Thomas conversation, but as it pertains to the fight specifically, I think that there is something to be said for the lack of cornering that she was getting in this fight. Now, you should not need your coach to win the fight for you, right? Obviously, the coach cannot do that. You are the one in the cage. You need to be the one making the decisions at the end of the day. We talked about Connor's, conversation about this when we watched McGregor Forever. At the end of the day, you are the first and last line of defense in that cage. That is your job to win the fight. But there is certainly something to be said for Dean Thomas basically between round 1 and 2 was already like, I'm not having any of this. He literally said in between round 1 and 2, you need to wake the fuck up. He was like really on at that level already. And I'm like, now when we see all the stuff in the conversation thereafter, it starts to become a little bit more of something that you can draw off of.
I'm not even gonna lie. It already, even when you're watching the fight, you're talking about between 1 and 2. I mean, what Dean did, what he did after, and he already made his apology or whatever. We'll talk about that separate. There was already weird stuff going on with the cornering. I mean, after
Yeah.
I think I might have been round 1 and 2, or might have been 2 and 3. He's like, "What's wrong with your legs?" Like obviously, like they're not working, and like she just didn't like care. Like she's like, just
He's like
shut up. Like
browbeating her. I mean, like, now look, sometimes fighters need that, and I can understand that if you have that pre-established relationship, but it certainly did not feel that way when you're seeing how he's approaching her and how she's responding, which was very not at all. It looked like she was, it's like when you're hitting somebody who's not fighting back kind of thing.
and then the fifth round, the last time he gets to talk, it's the most awkward pause ever. He sits her down and he's like, "Well, get her up against the cage." And it's like, what? Like, I don't know, bro. At that moment, I was like, yo, what? This dude really didn't have his fighter at the level that she needed to be coming into this fight. I don't know. And then, obviously with the shit that he says afterwards, where he's like, yep, I'm just done. I think she's reached the level that she's going to be at, that's about it for her. And I'm done. And it's like, it doesn't feel the way that you say that. It's like, no wonder your fighter didn't have confidence going into her title fight, is when deep down her coach thinks that like that's the end of the road for her, is getting there to the title, is not winning it and doing anything after. And now my coach just dips out. Like Jillian she's a grown woman. She probably knew that he was going to do all this. Like this is just Dean making a fool out of himself. Like she probably doesn't really necessarily take too much, or she does. I don't know. Grown woman, she could do what she wants, but this was just, I think she could have had a better mentality coming into this fight. I think it was just level of confidence. That's all.
Yeah, and really, I mean, you take that, you take Dean, you take all of the things that we've just discussed here, you put them all together, and this is the package that you get at the end of the day, really. I mean, if you break down those parts, this is what they equal up to. So it does track. And again, I do want to at least highlight, because of how dominant a performance it was for Dern, there were moments for Jillian. And they were all late in this fight, and she did steal a round away at the very end. Like that, it doesn't equal up to much, but it is, it's like, it has to be like put into perspective based on everything that we've talked about. So I want to at least give her that, because there's really not much else to give her. And to the point, because I see 10-7 talking about it. And, I wanted to mention it. Yes, she does have the arthritis in the hips. That is something that was, I thought, a very good point that Bam Bam was making on the pre-show over there at the 10-7. The reason that it's not a big talking point for me is because I don't feel like it played the craziest factor in this fight. She seemed like she was moving pretty decently when she wanted to be moving. She was still striking, even if she was not landing the strikes. It's just Mackenzie Dern had the ability to negate everything that she was bringing to the table. If you add the hip on top of it, does it help? Of course not. Definitely not. But it certainly was not like, that's the thing that I can point to. I think that everything that we just talked through is the big picture here.
It just felt like Jillian, the confidence, of course. I think she was just overthinking every movement in there. Where at this point, for Mackenzie Dern, it was instinctual. She's running through the motions. I'm the champion. I do what I want. Jillian, it just felt like she was stuck in a dream. Like, when you're trying to punch in a dream or you're underwater. Like she didn't have any spring. She didn't have any pop. It was an unfortunate performance because, again, it wasn't the craziest performance by Dern. It was her game and it was dominant. But Jillian, like I said, there was a moment where Mackenzie Dern was sitting on her damn stomach trying to go for a knee bar. It's like you could have optically won the fans over if you would have just tried to do something, like do something that is a little unorthodox. You're grappling right here, and she obviously is not giving a shit. She's got her back turned to you. She's just trying to yank your leg up. Like, just reach around and punch her. Like, do something that it's like you as a fan, you'd be like, Jillian is trying to win this fight. She's not the one just trying to fuck around and play touch butt in the park, like,
yeah.
But it didn't happen. So
no, yeah, well, and it goes to the point that Mackenzie was comfortable enough to try those kinds of things, because it sometimes felt. I mean, like, look, she nearly got the rear naked choke in round 1. So I mean, it's like after that, you're not feeling anything coming back. You're able to get that potentially sunk in, even if it didn't work out. She's got a blank canvas, as I call it, open runway to do whatever she wants. She might have been a little bit highlight hunting at times. If she had gotten the knee bar, that would have been some crazy shit. So, I can understand that part of it, but it is certainly your job as the opponent to not allow her to have those moments.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And she even said in her post fight that she was looking for the submission. The last thing that I'll note about her post fight, which this irked me a little bit, and it, whether it should or shouldn't. So Mackenzie Dern obviously gets her daughter, comes in the cage, and like she's got her daughter's hand and they're about to, raise the hand. And this fucking bitch on the side grabs the daughter's hand and she's like, no, she can't be up there with you. And like, so she pulls her to the side, and Mackenzie's like arguing with her, like, no, come back over, like, come over here. And like, it was just like who, get the fuck out the way. Like, what are you doing?
Random commission lady or something, right?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, if fucking that basketball chick is allowed to go and just be a random ring girl for a time, the daughter can't hold her mother's hand. Get out of here with this horse shit. There are no fucking rules. So what the hell are you trying to make them for now?
So what I will say to that is Mackenzie Dern, she likes a man who leads, but I will say she did not play that about her daughter. She was gonna have her daughter raise her hand together once we get the win. Easy enough. She could have been like, okay, like whatever. But
right,
this was a moment for her and her daughter. She's the champ. This is her first title defense. I think Mackenzie Dern, if all else, whether you hate watching her, whether you love her, whether you love watching her, she is carrying herself as a good champion, I would say.
I think you're absolutely correct about that. I've been the reason I picked Jillian was because I've been skeptical of Mackenzie Dern as a champion. There have been times where I thought that she's performed exceedingly well. I always talk about the Angela Hill performance as being one of a time where I thought she was a standout talent in that one. Then she dropped off in the fight after that. I always thought she was a little bit, she was inconsistent. But now as a champion, she's certainly carrying herself well, and a win like this definitely speaks to that.
Absolutely. I mean, this was your Sugar Sean title defense, so hopefully we're ready for the second one and don't
Eh,
expect too much.
well, right. I mean, now they were talking about that on commentary. Oh, it could have been Waylay. Yeah, well, now it's probably going to be. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, then that takes us to our main event of the evening here, of course. That is Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Garry for the welterweight strap. Chase, what'd you think?
Well, aside from this being not the most exciting fight, it was the main event and it did not feel that there was no danger. Obviously with Islam being on this win streak, anything's fucking possible. You can't really rule anything out. When you get to this, it's like history hasn't been broken for a reason. When that happens, it's a big moment. So I did not I did never believe there was never a point where I didn't believe that Ian Garry could just pull something out his ass. Islam was starting to wear damage. This is where we got to start to realize, what happened with the Volk fight as well too. Islam is from that region where damage just does not fare well to your skin. He just turns all different types of colors and gets lumpy. It's whatever. Dominant performance, sure. I mean, it wasn't awesome, but he won most of the rounds. 48-47 again is probably very incorrect. But there was one moment that did get us on our feet where Islam, caught a crazy head kick and Machado Garry falls to the fucking ground, which was pretty epic. Yeah, but what I will say to the point before we talk about how Ian is not really in the fight vibe. He's in the fucking hug and kiss vibe. This, I had always said, Ian Garry is the best chance that welterweight has to dethrone Islam. And I still believe that. Obviously, after this performance, he just went to decision with him, and he did a lot of good things that I think Prates and Morales are just not going to be able to do, of course. And I still stand by this is going to be the closest that a welterweight is going to have against Islam as of right now. Ian Garry is very technical. He's very defensive. And I think he did a lot of good stuff. There were moments where he did not do anything towards the end, and you remember what people were saying about Prates. He did the exact same thing that Prates did to him. He waited all the way to the fourth and fifth round and just did not let his hands go. He conserved all that energy. He played the safe game and just did not let it go. So Ian Garry, while he was too worried about hugging Islam and trying to sun in between rounds, that's what makes me mad too. I hate I'm walking away, but I'm gonna rub your head on the way after I'm losing the fight. I don't fucking rub Islam's head like you're his father or something, brother. Like you are losing the fight and you are still like every time Islam's trying to walk away, he like grabs him, pulls him. It's like get the fuck. Oh my god, I've talked about this before, bro. I sincerely dislike, and again, Bruce may be okay with it. That's fine. Don't fucking touch Bruce while he's trying to read the fucking things off. Like, what if you mess him up? Like, you're yelling in his face. Like, if he messes up, that's one, your fault. And, like, it's not about, like, bro, it's the introducing the fights. Like, don't
Oh no,
touch the fucking guy,
I
bro.
agree. The non-consensual Bruce Buffer touching has to stop. I agree with that completely. No, most definitely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that all of what you're talking about with the dapping up, the rubbing the head, all of this patting on the back, all this shit. It goes to the main point. You kind of hinted at it already. I mean, I think that if the last fight was about a confidence level, this fight was about a respect level. And that I think was the bigger problem here. I think that this truly was the respect that Garry was showing to Islam that ultimately was his downfall. You dropped 2 rounds starting this fight off by, I guess, just waiting too long. I don't know if that was part of the respect thing, but then the fifth round, I agree with Dana. You are down at least 3 rounds, I would say. I mean, some people might say that he won the fourth possibly or whatever, but I think that it was 1 and 2. He won round 3. Round 4 goes to Islam. So you're down 3 going into the fifth, potentially. You have to finish this fight, and you're coming in and you're having another hug fest here. Like, where is the killer instinct? I mean, like, to be the GOAT, you got to slay the GOAT, and you're not going out there with the mentality of a goat slayer when it comes to that kind of approach. So, I think that there were a number of factors that all equaled up here. Ian Garry is a competent point striker, but you have to be actively seeking those points. I think for those first 2 rounds, he wasn't doing that. There were a lot of times where he was sitting there staring at him. It looked like he might have been waiting for counters. you can't be stationary and expecting those to show up, because what happens? Islam gets the single leg, or Islam, pushes you up against the cage, and now he's controlling you there. Like he wasn't accepting position, so I certainly want to make that point. He definitely was very active. That's why I think that there might. I don't think that he did win the round, but round 4, there's at least a little bit of a case to be made that it was close, only because it was a lot of control from Islam after he had already worn down. He was tired at that point, and Ian Garry bloodied him up with the shots inside, close range shots. So I do think that there is a conversation about that to be had, but there were holes in the game planning, it felt like, for Ian Garry that should have been noticeable, I would think. Like, if you're in that fight specifically and you see what is happening throughout the progression, for having that as the factors going into round 5 and approaching round 5 as you did, it all kind of made sense at the end of the day how this played out.
Well, Islam looked human once again. Volk was the last person that made this possible kind of deal. I again, Ian Garry is the best chance that we had. He definitely made him look human, but it still wasn't enough. I don't think the other participants are going to get as close as Garry did. Making this competitive, I would say. In the grappling, he actually, 12 minutes of control time doesn't really tell the story too much, because he didn't really have much damage landed on him. He didn't get submitted. He, when the takedowns came, he did the right things. So I want to give Garry some props, but there's a reason that there's levels to it. For as good as he is, if you go back to the originator of the 16 fight win streak, when he was fighting Chris Weidman, he was fucking around. He was not taking it serious. But the one person who was his opponent, and Chris Weidman, to his credit, he thought that he could knock him out with that strike, and he did, and knocked him down, and then obviously got to the ground and pound. But the point is Garry doesn't have that mentality where, like, at any point the shot that I got to throw has got to knock him out. I don't know. So it's not that Islam wasn't taking it serious. I'm not comparing that level to it, but the idea that Garry was, he has when the fight ends, it's like, oh, we got to be respectful and cool with each other, and then when the fight's on, we got to be, it's like he stop having two of these things that you have going on. It's like, when it's fight time, it needs to be fight time, bro. You need to be wanting to become the welterweight champion. Like, bro, he's over here at the press conference talking about how good Islam is. Like, I'm glad Islam just told him to shut up. Like, what do you do? Like, bro, just go fucking fight on Saturday. Like, you didn't. This was unfortunately not the best performance from Garry. Of course, it's against Islam, but it was still enough that we're going to have to hear from him for the next 2 or 3 years. When everybody goes against Islam and loses, oh, I did it the best, mate. I lost to him the best. Whatever.
Well, see, I mean, that's the only thing I want to counter back, is that I think that potentially Protes or Morales could possibly not have that same respect level and maybe have the better fight, because you made the point, and I do think that it's very true. And I don't necessarily apply it to Ian Garry. I think it's just being at the new weight. But you said Islam certainly looked a lot more human in this fight. We have been seeing that now at welterweight, I definitely think, is the truth. Now, not as much in the JDM fight, because of course he was on top for all of that fight, but he had to be on top for a lot of that fight. I mean, like, you could say that's where he wanted to be, and that certainly does track. But at the same time, I think that there was a recognition of the power striking of JDM that made it the approach. He took a different approach with this fight. Saw him gassing out. Joe Rogan asked you. Joe Rogan, for as much criticism as he gets, he still is a person who will cut to the core of what I've always said this about Joe. He asks the question that are the questions that are on people's minds. They were talking about it on commentary during the fight. He asked him afterwards, do you feel different at 170? Do you feel like the opponents are different? Are you feeling power different? Is it a different approach? Islam had a fine answer for it. Oh, yeah, it's a little bit different, this and that, but I'm still able to do it. My style is still good. He said the right thing, because that is the answer you should say. But what we are seeing may be a little bit of a different story. So I say all of that to say, if Carlos Prates comes out here and he's not playing the respect game, gets his hands going, no footwork at all from Ian Garry. You think Carlos Prates is just going to stand there stationary? He does have a Muay Thai style. Maybe Morales doesn't do that. I'm just putting potentials out there as to say we are seeing a much more human version of Islam than we have ever seen him at the lower weight. It's like Rogan said, annihilated people down there except for Volk. It's not looking the same up here.
Did you hear what Joe Rogan also said in that moment where he's talking about the people that Islam dominated, where he said he dominated Justin Gaethje? that fight never happened. And DC right next to him. You're right. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no,
absolutely.
of course, yeah. Always the yes and of the
Yeah.
improv class. Of yeah, fair enough that might have been a misspeak, but still the sentiment I think does
Yeah.
track. And but my point is that I think that if one of those other two, whoever they end up giving it to, and I think it's probably going to be Carlos Prates, that would be my thought. Based on what he has gotten himself to as far as fan interest and things like that. I think that maybe he comes out there with the no respect given kind of mentality, and maybe it's a different fight.
I do believe confidence does play a huge part in these fights. I think in this fight, well, with Islam looking human with damage and looking like things could actually, affect him. I think we also saw the same thing with the Volk fight. You could see it in his face, like the doubt, like, I might not have this one. But the fact that he is still winning, I think, he's going to continue to learn. I don't know if he's going to be as worried. And this is, again, super confidence from Prates and overlooking Prates. I think could be a recipe for disaster. But I think Islam knows that Ian Garry was the best opportunity that this division has for right now. Of course, I think the most skills and the most disciplined fighter for a 5-round fight is Ian Garry, and he's been proving that for time and time again. But Islam was just better on that night, and that's just how it goes.
That is how it goes, and that win streak record has been broken. So shout out to Islam. He is the man at the top of the heap right now.
So, would you like to know where Adriano Martins is now? Currently, the guy who has the one win over Islam. Would you like to know where his career ended up?
I certainly would, Chase. Tell me.
So he beat Islam Makhachev in 2015. So, and then from the span of 2016 to 2019, he had 4 fights and he lost all of them. And in 2019, his most recent loss by unanimous decision was to, I don't remember if you know that there was a fighting nerd that they don't really mention anymore named Khrushchevsky.
Yes, yes, Kraszewski. I do remember.
He had been beaten by him in 2019, and that's where Adriano Martin's career has landed as of right now.
And that is why MMA math don't math right there.
Yep. So it is a very interesting thing. I mean, could people say that Islam is not the GOAT because he has one loss compared to his mentor who has no losses? I think when you break down the X's and O's and you look at the names that Islam has been able to get past, I think it speaks for itself, guys. I mean, if Anderson Silva is some people's GOAT at a time when the competition was goofy enough where I could just go like this in your face and not think you're going to knock me out, Islam has definitely proven that he is worth mention.
I mean, come on, man. Pound for a reason is what I've always said about it. And he's continuing to get the wins. There are some people that are trying to make some argument here and there. Oh, Ian won this fight, the striking. That's come on, dude. You watch the fight. I watched it twice now. I mean, I was specifically looking because we did have a conversation. Like I told you, I'm going to put a clip out probably sometime this week of a conversation we had on Muay Thai Sundays about this, where consistency and how you judge fights. And yeah, damage is supposed to be the first metric in this. You watch this fight back, Islam won this fight. So
100%. It wasn't a fight that I would necessarily put somebody through the battle of watching like now. Like if you didn't watch this live, I'm not going to show it to you anytime after. I'm just going to let you know Islam won, and he's still doing it. But yeah, that's that. And it's funny because I rewatched. I was showing my dad because my dad is always like, the UFC doesn't really have like that guy. Who's that? The UFC guy, and I'm like Islam, I mean, he's gonna break the record of Anderson Silva. He's like, I've never heard of him, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll show you his fight with Dustin Poirier. This happened a little bit ago, and when I was watching it, I even was sitting there thinking like, damn, I couldn't have picked a better one to show this motherfucker. Like, I mean, he knows who Dustin Poirier is, so it kind of led into it, but like, it wasn't really the greatest fight as I remember it being, So Islam just has that. He's very dominant at what he does, and for what he does, the rule set acknowledges the winning record for. He's very good at what he does, and he wins the judges' scorecards. So
yeah, we'll see if he's able to continue doing just that when we find out who he fights next. But for now, Islam Makhachev reigns supreme. So that does bring us to the end of UFC 330, Makhachev versus Machado. Garry, Chase, after talking it all through, final thoughts here.
this was a very crazy night. The main takeaways, of course, I think this might be a new thing we could do. Main takeaways, of course, Orabai. I still can't stop thinking about him, lifelessly falling to the mat. Thank God they didn't have multiple angles of that. I'd be heartbroken right now if I could see like every fucking angle of him getting lifeless. But also Trayshawn Gore in your teeth, bro. Rest in peace, bro. I hate that for you, but you are a Chad. So there we go. And then of course Jillian Robertson and her coach, figure that shit out, brother. I don't know. Is he? I think he even said he's still gonna coach, like, but he's just not gonna be going out to the corners. Like I
Yeah,
don't.
he specifically said he's not cornering fighters anymore.
So who knows how that's gonna go from here on out? Maybe she
Yeah,
goes to Extreme Couture after this.
somewhere I think that it would be very appropriate for her to make the move. But yeah, overall, I mean, I thought basically until we got to the title fights, this was a really really entertaining card. Title fights were a little bit sleepy, I would say, and I mean, the main event was better than the women's fight, but overall, I think that this was a pretty decent card, and to see Islam Makhachev break a record is cool, and I was okay with this card in the big picture. Not necessarily like one that I would say is like going to be held up as one of like the all-time favorites, but certainly a serviceable card for a Saturday night.
Absolutely. And so now, would you like to break down the numbers?
I would love to break down the numbers, Chase. How did both of us do this week?
I can tell you this was not my best night, but we'll obviously break it down. So out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fights, I did not tally one of them because we had it down for Jose Ochoa versus
Oh
Charles
yeah,
Johnson. So we had
that
to
was
switch up on that. So out
right.
of the 11 fights, I had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct. And you had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct. Wow, big leaps over here, thinker. Damn you. I thought when I looked at it, I saw all the ones. I was like, man, he's gonna catch up if I have another week like this. But it was only 6-5. So that leaves the totals for Chase at 211 points for the year, with Thinker having 194 for the year. So
Uh,
it's not looking that bad. I mean, so yeah, we're gonna keep clawing,
line.
gonna keep doing our thing. But I think it was it was fulfilling. It was fights. I would say though, when we saw the image of the pay-per-view that's coming up in a few months, I think everybody realized like, what the fuck are we watching right now? If you could have done
Bro,
something like this, they
333 is
they
super
put
stacked.
out one of the best cards that I done seen in a while. Like, bro, and that kept going too. I'm like, damn, prelims too? Like, shit. And you got me over here watching fucking Vicente Luque? Like, what? And Yoel Alvarez? Like, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, you look that thing up and down. I mean, from the first fight onward, it is a very, very stacked card. So we still don't even have a main event for 332, but we got 333 now, and it is all kinds of great. So,
Well, I can tell you one of them is going to be Valentina Shevchenko. It is going to have to happen at some
oh
point,
my
guys.
God, please, for fuck's sake. I feel like they've been dangling that fight in front of our faces for years. We know why, we get why, but still, it needs to happen.
And the word on the street is Yuri is 2 weeks into a camp, so I can say he's going to be the co-main event probably. So
Oh no,
we'll see how it
no,
goes.
my bad. I wasn't even thinking about Valentina. My two thoughts crossing on that one. Valentina, yes, coming back, that'll be awesome. Nunes and Harrison.
Oh yeah,
Fuck's sake. I mean, that's the fight was thinking about. I'm like, Jesus Christ, we need that fight already.
I think that injury not only unfortunate for Kayla and her career, but unfortunate for the organization because they built that fight. That fight was going to happen, and it got pulled out. And there was a reason that there was no talks for it to be on the White House, is because I think they realized like shit, she's going to be out longer than we thought. You haven't seen a single promotional thing. Amanda Nunes has not been at any of the fights. She has not been in social medias talking about how the fight needs to happen. We need to get it going. Like, and she's very vocal. We both of them are very vocal people. So the fact that nothing is going on, I don't know if I like that for Kayla Harrison or not.
Yeah, well, I've heard that she's developing well. It just might still be an extended amount of time that it takes. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, plenty more coming around the corner as it always is. And speaking of coming around the corner, Chase, we got a card coming up this very weekend here. UFC Fight Night, Hernandez versus Rodrigues coming up. Want to talk this thing through?
I do want to talk this one too. I kind of appreciate some of the sleeper fight nights because this one right here has got some names on it that I really do appreciate.
And if we have ever said one thing consistently, it is that sometimes the ones on paper, that aren't the greatest stack up to be the best. We saw a very, very quality Apex card on the last time that they were there. So this could be good too. Starting off the evening, of course, with Anthony Fluffy Hernandez and Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues. I mean, Fluffy coming off of a pretty bad loss to Strickland. I thought, now, you'd say, oh, he lost it. Some losses are better than others. To me, that was a bad loss. I was not happy with his performance in that fight whatsoever. Rodrigues, I mean, we know exactly what he brings to the table in his fights. He's been doing it pretty consistently as of late. What are your thoughts on how this thing plays out?
Fluffy is a guy who wears a tough face. I'm not saying that he's soft or anything. He is very tough, but I think there's a level of ego where because listen, you got to think about this. Gregory Rodrigues, I've said this before, he is one of the scariest dudes in this division. He's massive. He's experienced. He has credentials. He's like some high level BJJ guy on top of him being the most powerful guy that I've ever seen throw punches kind of deal. This is a fight that unless you are like well equipped with a game plan of what's going to work, you know what's going to happen here. I'm going to get punched by this dude. I'm going to get kicked. Getting TKO'd by Strickland is one thing because the volume, it adds up, and TKO'd by him. Only certain people do have that effect, but being one of them is not a great look. Gregory Rodrigues, though, the thing about Fluffy is that he gets hit, and Rodrigues hits like a fucking truck. And he's still getting better. I mean, we haven't seen him at the point, when you talk about the Jared fight, we saw the moment where it's like, the gas tank failed him. Hopefully he, with his size and the weight cutting, maybe that's going to always be a thing, but we haven't seen him in that predicament since. And even with that fight against Jared, he was whooping his ass. Not everybody is going to fucking take that. I don't think Fluffy Hernandez is going to last very long with Gregory. I mean, this guy is fucking scary, man.
Well, and it goes to the point why I said that it was such a bad loss to Strickland. It's not getting TKO'd by Strickland that's the problem. It's the fact that you have a very specific skill set that you did not employ in that fight, and you allowed yourself to get touched the way that you did. Now I feel very strongly about this because I was such a big fan of Hernandez coming into that fight. I the dark horse of the division kind of thing. I really would have liked him to be able to live up to the expectations that I had for him. I think that the exposure in that fight against a guy who is generally going to be volume heavy as opposed to power heavy really speaks a very great deal as to like where the holes lie in the game. You exactly like you said, exactly what RoboCop brings to the table in these fights. I mean, this dude is powerful and just always ready to throw. He's another one of these guys that there's not a lot of backup. There's not a lot of hesitancy when he's in there putting his hands to work. So I think that Hernandez is going to be in for a very bad time if he even thinks about trying to strike with him. If he instantly starts going for takedowns, there is potential for him to have a little bit more success, but I don't think that you can sustain that over the course of 3 rounds. His best opportunity would be to try to gas RoboCop out, but I just don't think that he's going to allow for that. I don't think that it's going to get to that point.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I know Fluffy's a very good wrestler, and I didn't think that he was gonna be able to take Roman down very easily. But I'm not sure that he's gonna get RoboCop down at all. And if he does, I'm thinking if this dude is as credentialed as they have been talking about in grappling, if Fluffy doesn't do the drop him and pick and get back up, drop him, if that's not what's gonna work, I'm not sure what else is going to, because this dude doesn't have, the craziest hands. Again, we talk about how this dude his name is Fluffy. He's literally going to get hit in the stomach and it's going to hurt and he's going to show it. So I just don't know what the game is to win. I'm not.
Well, I mean, think about the people that he had the most success against with the style that he works with. He did it against Michelle Pajeda. Not, I mean, I'm not in the organization anymore, and someone who we know is a bit of a a slight slouch, I would say, to an extent. Roman Dolidze, tail end of his career, somebody that I know that you had put a decent amount of stock in, but I don't think even lived up to those expectations. Brendan Allen may be a good example of it, but a guy who has some problems on the ground at times, and just also kind of seemed like he just became susceptible to it, and then had a similar problem with Imavov, I would say. I mean, like, when you reach the Strickland level and that's where it caps off, like, I think that it exposes things that may have not been exposed by some of those other guys.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm taking Gregory Rodriguez. Thinker, who would you like to take?
I'm also taking RoboCop on this one. I think I agree with you in the fact that he has been improving. He is extremely powerful. I do think he's going to be able to land shots, and for those reasons, I just think that Fluffy, as tough as he may be, Latin chin and all of that, it's only so many times that you can tank that damage.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. And yeah, and I see 10-7 is saying don't jump off the Fluffy train, brother. I was pushed off of that train. It
Mm,
was not by choice.
yeah, I hate to say that. I hate to see it.
Yeah. All right. Well, co-main event to this thing. This is actually a pretty decent fight here at heavyweight. This is Sergey Spivak versus Vitor Petrino. Our dude Sergey Spivak, who just will not leave. He just is.
Mm.
He's always here. And Vitor Petrino, who's a little bit newer to the division. There are certain elements of Petrino's game that I think could give people pause. He's newer to heavyweight, had a little bit of a rocky road at light heavyweight towards the tail end of his time there, but has been looking better-ish, I would say. That's how I would describe Vitor Petrino at heavyweight. Better, but better-ish. There are still some things that maybe would give one pause.
I have been a big fan of Sergey Spivak. I have taken him when not many people have, and I think that having hope in a guy like Sergey is really good for the division of heavyweight because he is a younger heavyweight. To keep this guy in the mix and for him to sustain it is very important. He's seen a lot of the top guys already. He's faced Tom Aspinall. He's faced Surreal Gone. He's faced Waldo. Ante Dalia. He just walked through him kind of deal. I think Spivak is coming around to a point that he's doing very well for himself when it comes to the fight game. Like he navigates it very well. I think he always has a game plan that works for him. Even with the Waldo, like, I don't even think that it was that bad. Jailton Almeida getting TKO was crazy, but he was still on the feet. Like I've never seen Spivak just get flatlined. Like he always has to have the ref step in because we talked about earlier on his career. He gives this impression of somebody who doesn't like to get hit. Like if he starts getting rained on, he starts covering up, cowering, running away. Like it's not a good look, and the ref normally steps in. I think we're beyond that point. I again, the last person to knock him out was Brazilian. I'm a big fan of Brazilians now coming anywhere and everywhere to just do their bidding to whoever's across from him. But Sergey Spivak, in his newest form, he looks very confident in his striking. When he gets hit, aside from the Jailton, when he gets hit, he's ready to take the shots, and he gives some back. The Dalia fight was after Dalia came in with decent momentum. Like we thought that it was going to be a rough night for Spivak if Dalia got going early. And Spivak just actually tanked those shots and navigated the fight on the feet the entire time. Vitor Petrino does not have the volume and or that blitz ability that Dalia had. And Dalia was still able to hang kind of around that fight. He was just getting pieced up by Spivak. I think Spivak will come in here with a level of confidence in the striking that Vitor maybe is not expecting because I have plenty of tape on him. I've seen what he's done, but you're not taking into account the recent evolution for somebody who's again 31 years old. This is where he's going to make his stand if he's going to continue and ever get to that top level. It's right here, and he's going to go through Petrino. And I think Petrino really hasn't shown us much at heavyweight, and I don't think he's really ever going to, is what I would say.
I think a lot of this comes from the fact that you are a low-key sneak hater of Steven Asplund. I think that that's what this is about. Now, obviously, I'm kidding about that, but I do think that you're not putting a lot of stock in Petrino's performance against Asplund. What we've seen from Petrino is a knockout of Thomas Peterson.
Which I think that's a fight you could put stock into as well. He wasn't doing shit until randomly Thomas Peterson decided to contort his own back in a knockout. That one was by far, he was probably going to lose that fight, So I continue on though.
Well, I mean, fair if you think that that is the case, but we saw that he has at least the power to do that. He caught Thomas Peterson, and he went to a unanimous decision win pretty dominantly over Steven Asplund, who is a volume striker. So, I mean, that's I think the issue here is I don't know if Sergey Spivak has heavyweight power. Is what I really think is what this coming down to, sadly, because I mean, Sergey Spivak not necessarily like a crazy knockout artist at heavyweight. He's just a really tough, durable heavyweight that'll stay in there with you. If it's going to be that type of fight that's going to go long distance, I think Petrino has a shot here.
I think Petrino may have a shot if it stays standing and he's able to just stand there and get his one shot off. And if Spivak makes that small mistake of just keeping his chin out, not bringing his hand up, I think the grappling is where this fight should get interesting because that's the one thing that, Spivak has to his advantage at heavyweight is he can grapple. The last grappler that he faced, first off, he submitted Tybura, which is not necessarily a grappler, but Jailton Almeida decided to stand and strike with him. And Jailton Almeida only lays and cuddles with everybody. So that should lead you to believe that Spivak has something better than any other guy in the division because Jailton did not want to fuck around with it. Petrino also has good grappling though. But I think if I were to make a guess, I think Spivak is going to get real fat. I think he's going to get fat for this one, and he's going to lay on top of Petrino because again, Petrino may be filled out enough that he makes it look right, but we know that he's not a true heavyweight. Spivak has been around long enough. He ain't dropping a 205. Let's start getting more. We know we're going against a small body here. Let's get him down and let's lay on top of him and TKO him. And I think that's my lock here is Spivak by ground and pound.
All right. I mean, look, I think that when Petrino and I'll tell you when I first knew who Vitor Petrino was because of a performance where he was grappling primarily. I mean, or at least wrestling. I mean, at least it was getting into grappling sequences, but starting off with some pretty solid wrestling for a light heavyweight at the time. So, I mean, the base is definitely there for that. I think that he's going to be able to hold his own with Sergey Spivak, man. I think that Sergey Spivak is going to maybe potentially try some of those things that he was able to get off on Marcin Tybura, but I don't think that he's going to be able to do those against the younger, more skilled wrestler grappler in Petrino. And then if it does end up being negated and it has to go to the hands, I think that Petrino, even if it has to be volume striking, even if it ends up being like the Asplin fight, Petrino might not be a true heavyweight with true heavyweight power either. But like I said, Sergey Spivak, also not that to me. I mean, you know what I mean? It's somebody we have not consistently seen that ability from. So, I mean, Petrino, I think that the skill set is there to be able to win this fight. So for that reason, I am going to be opposed to this. I'm going to be taking Vitor Petrino by decision.
All right, I will. I'm ready to see this one. I'm excited. This is a pretty good co-main event for what I would say here. I like this Spivak here
for sure. And also, I think that the last note I'll have about Spivak is he has been. I said he's a guy that just never leaves. Right? There is a reason that he has been around for as long as he has been. I mean, even for a dude who's got 18 wins and the 6 losses, maybe not the greatest, but he does win. He is he's a winning record, and he's a perennial figure of heavyweight for a reason. So. I like him. I don't dislike Sergey Spivak. If he wins this fight, I will not be mad about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's also key to note that most of his losses in his career are in the UFC. I mean, all of them is what it looks like, actually. Yeah. So he is somebody who loses to, guys like Walt Harris. He lost to Tybura the first time, like there's people that he will lose to. There's a certain level. Obviously, when you get later into his career, people like Waldo, Almeida, Cirogan, Tom Aspinall, like these guys are who he should be losing to as a middle of the road kind of guy. This is the same thing with Brahimaj. I think there's a certain level that get past certain guys, and I don't know if I think Petrino is that level.
And I agree with the thought process. This is going to be a big test for him in that regard.
Yeah.
I say.
So, yeah. Yep, absolutely. But actually, with that, this is the true heavyweight test, though, for him. Like we will know. Like obviously, beating Asplin is one thing, but he's still new to the division, new to the organization. Doesn't have the experience to and the skill set to really change it up. I think beating Spivak in whatever way the fight goes, I think is a big indication of what he's going to do at heavyweight going forward.
For sure. This is his Marcin Tybura versus Jonathan Janice right here.
Yes.
I mean, very, very much. I mean, because think about the jump from Thomas Peterson to this. I mean, that's a massive jump. And Spivak, a guy who's been around the block. So yeah, I definitely think this is a very big test for him. If he passes, he becomes an actual heavyweight, and then all the game changes for him.
Absolutely. And just to correct you, just because I think it is key to note, he went from Thomas Peterson to Stephen Asplin. So isn't that kind of a weird little downgrade? It's like, oh, Thomas Peterson, who's somebody who's been in the organization for a little bit, I just knocked him out.
No, because
give me a guy on his second fucking fight.
Because Stephen Asplin is the man. Concrete is the fucking dude. You have to acknowledge this, Chase. I'm not going to be sitting here and listening to this low-key Asplin slander from you.
I will accept that may be what it appears like, but Vitor Petrino is going to lose to Sergey Spivak this Saturday is what I will agree with.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see it. Next up on the list here, gosh, how is this guy still around? But either of these guys at this point, this is Rainier de Ritter versus Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze is who I was talking about. Now I know that you are a fan of this guy, Chase, but this dude, and I mean these last couple of fights at this point, has been looking like he has one foot out the door. We have heard specifically from villagers in Georgia that this dude's business is booming. He's got construction going on, whatever the hell he's doing over there. He is a man who is entrepreneurial. Does that translate to a win in the cage against a Rainier de Ritter?
I think it is interesting because I do agree with you that Roman Dolidze is clocked out. I mean, he's here for the check and he's okay with half, is what I would say.
Right.
De Ritter is back at light heavyweight, of course. He did not look great in his debut. Ended up losing. What was it? It was Robert Whitaker? No.
With the last.
Yes, his debut at light heavyweight.
His debut at light heavyweight. Yeah. No, the debut was GM3.
No.
Wasn't it?
Fucking Kaio? No, that did he?
It was
Wait, is this his debut?
Is it not?
No. Brendan Allen? No, that's still middleweight. Kaio would have been middleweight. So has he not debuted at light heavyweight? I swore he did already.
Oh, at light heavyweight. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, this might be his debut at light heavyweight. I think he did. No, wait. He had one fight. Did he not have one fight before?
I could have swore he did, but I just checked and it does not appear unless Kaio randomly went up to light heavyweight, which I don't believe is the case.
Yeah. I think that this his comeback fight from that was the fight that he quit on the stool. No.
The Brendan Allen one was.
Oh, so then he did fight. He fought Kaio after that.
That is what ESPN is saying, but I feel like that's not correct. But anyway,
gotta be right. So I don't know. Maybe either way. Yeah, either way. I mean, look, if this is him going up, he's finally made the decision to not cut the weight so much anymore. Then I mean, this could be a whole new world for him.
Yeah, this one is definitely going to be interesting. I mean, we know that he's got baby lungs. The scientists have told him he does not have the lungs capable to compete at the highest level of martial arts. That's what he fucking said. I don't fucking know how they did that, but he is not confident that his cardio levels are ever going to be top notch. Roman Dolidze may throw it in, but if he doesn't, I mean, he's probably not going to get beat up too much. I mean, Rainier de Ritter, I mean, he's cool, but it's back to those things where people are like, oh, but he's just gonna smash him with knees. They see somebody do something one time and they just ride on that forever. They're like, oh my God, he's just gonna knee him to death. And it's like Roman Dolidze probably is just gonna take him down if he tries to knee him in the stomach. I don't necessarily see it going as easy for de Ritter as maybe people would think, but I still think he'll get this one done. I even think because Roman Dolidze throws in this fucking towel at this point, I think de Ritter gets a submission at light heavyweight. I think that's what we're going to go with. I think the fight gets to the ground, and we've heard about this grappling skill set that he has. He beat one of the Rotulos and won. Big deal. He had 2 weight classes on him. But I think if anything's possible, I don't think he's the TKO kind of guy. Like when it comes to ground and pound, this is definitely going to go to the ground. I would maybe hope that Rainier de Ritter is able to, because if you remember the Brendan Allen fight in the first round, he was in full mount, just kind of like waiting for an arm triangle, doing nothing. Hopefully he learned from that experience. Like, oh, maybe if I actually fucking try to do something in the first round, I won't have to be in the 4th round quitting on the stool. So I think de Ritter gets this one done, but it's only because Dolidze has shown me that I cannot willingly say that he's the guy that I thought he was at one point,
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think that there is something to be said for him moving up and not having to cut the weight, which probably had some impact. I mean, we know, it's probably lung capacity is like the main deal, but physiologically, I'm sure all of that plays a factor in some capacity as to how you approach a fight and what you're able to accomplish. So if he's feeling a little bit more healthy at a more natural weight, then I mean, just purely off of hunger level and that, I would say would be enough to sell me on him winning this fight. And Roman Dolidze is a person who I have really not been very high on for quite some time at this point. I feel like I feel like there were times where he really was bringing a lot to fights, and that time has passed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I feel like we're on the other side of his efficacy, so to speak, in this sport. I don't think that he is efficient. I don't think that he is a person who is able to actually enact game plans that are effective. And for those reasons, I think Rainier de Ritter is probably not going to have too big of a problem with this fight. I would say I think that the only chance that Roman has is maybe catching him early in a striking exchange. If Rainier de Ritter is defensively sound, this gets to the ground, goes later. Yeah, I think Rainier's got this.
Roman is just too slow on the feet. He in power may be there, but he fights like he's underwater. I'm not going to be able to say that he's going to chin anybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's gonna have to catch him if he's gonna get it, off angle or something like that. But I don't foresee that necessarily. Could happen, but it's not what my brain is telling me. So yeah, RDR, I believe, for the win.
Absolutely.
All right, next up. Oh gosh, do I love this fight? Markel Medeiros versus Mason Jones. Let me tell you something here, Chase. Markel Medeiros is a guy who is another one. Not the skill sets are completely different, but much like Kue Fernandez, a dude who has tricked everybody into thinking that he is on the level. You know what Mason Jones has done? Showed us that he is on the level. Now I know what you're gonna say. Mason Jones gets touched. He does. You are correct about that. But I don't think that Mikel Medeiros has what it takes to actually affect him the same way that a Blagioki does.
No, I think you are absolutely correct. I mean, when you said you love this fight, my thought process was is because you love to see Mason Jones whoop up on people. I
Yeah,
mean,
goddamn right I do.
and that's exactly what I think this one's going to be. Marcelo Medeiros, if you don't remember, his last performance was a draw to Chris Padilla, which was on the night called as a win for Chris Padilla, and then later overturned for a draw. Weird. But Mason Jones, he don't fuck around with that shit, brother. He's gonna come in here and annihilate. I mean, I was almost upset when I saw him on this card. I was like, damn, they got him in the Apex, but this is in California. So it is fair enough that they shipped him across the planet and they said, Mason Jones, you're gonna get a big win against this guy who's a
Las
prospect
Vegas,
here.
but yeah, Las
No,
Vegas, but
this is
oh
no,
no,
this
you're
is
right. It's
California.
Sacramento. My bad. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
come
yeah. Okay,
on now. But
right.
yeah,
Not
so
not the Apex.
not the Apex. No, Mason Jones not at the Apex. He's in Sacramento. I believe this might be the Clippers arena again. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong.
The Golden State Warriors arena.
The golden one. Oh, okay, gotcha. But either way, it should be a fun time, and I think Mason Jones, of course, is going to get a fucking W.
I think Mason Jones about to catch himself a nice highlight here.
This would be my aura buy for this week. If Mason Jones loses to Markel Medeiros, I mean that's going to
Yeah,
have me in a bad spot.
I say that would be, and I mean, like I like Orlabai. I don't have a framed picture of him, but I feel like maybe Mason Jones is more like the person that I do feel that way about, especially for the fact that he's been on such a tear coming back into the organization. Yeah, the Sacramento Kings. Okay, there you go. This fight here it would definitely be kind of devastating. Now, look, it's not Markel Medeiros' fault that what happened in the last fight went down the way that it did, right? I mean, this is, he fought his fight. That is going to be what it's going to be. This right here, as far as how this should go versus how it might go, would be devastating based on what we have seen out of each fighter in those fights. Markel Medeiros in that fight, I thought that he was down. I thought that Chris Padilla winning was the correct call. Fight before that, Austin Hubbard, I believe. I thought that he was doing a lot of running against a much older guy who was ended up being cut shortly thereafter. Mason Jones has been doing tremendous work. The only thing that I worry about with Mason Jones every time is, as I said, he is touchable. He is a person who has to get knocked down a couple of times before he really starts turning up. It feels like. I hope that he doesn't get caught slipping, is all I say.
No, he's got this one. This one's in the bag for sure.
Has to be. I hope so. It really would be like the Orlabai of this card for sure. That was a very good analogy. So Mason Jones for the win.
Yeah, both taking Mason Jones.
All right. Yes, indeed we are. Oh, your girl is back. Both of your girls are back. Holy moly. All right. We got Carly Judice fighting Jalisa Chavez. Oh my goodness. This is a Chase Parton dream fight right here.
Well, and I just wanted to make the point is, I remember we talked about Miss Chaves and her last fight, and you didn't love it. You didn't see, but listen, look who they put her up against. I know Eunice Dubin also went up against Carly Judice, but there was high hopes for her at the time. I think Miss Chaves here, I think they know that she potentially has a skill set that could look impressive, look worthy. I mean, we're at Carly Judice's point where if you look at her record, I mean, she's 6-2. She has lost to people who are not necessarily the greatest, and they realize we need to just get her experience and just keep her in the mix, give her people that are beatable, but she's still got to prove to us that she's going to keep beating these people. I think Miss Chaves, I think she is one in over her head by taking this fight, unfortunately. Second, I will say I don't think she's going to look as bad as a lot of people will think. She is very technical. She's very flat-footed. Unfortunately, she doesn't move around a lot, but she looks very defensively sound. She looks very technical. Muay Thai stuff going on, knees, elbows, great. But Carly Judice, oof, goddamn, this girl is one of the best prospects in the game right now. With somebody who has 8 professional bouts in mixed martial arts, she looks as if she has been around for a really long time. I don't know if she's just super into the game and she studies, but she has so many skills that people don't pick up until 15 fights in, and she's great.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is that, you're talking about why this fight was made. I think that the reason is it's not necessarily seeing some kind of greatness in Chavez. I think it's because she's 8-0 right now. And, and it's like, okay, an undefeated fighter, she's surging whether you like it or not. Now, like, I'm not trying to be like overall hater here. I mean, I didn't think that her performance was terrible or anything. I thought just a slightly underwhelming fight that was kind of all around. I didn't think that it wasn't just a tremendous fight to begin with. But that being said, we've seen tremendous fights out of Carly Judice. We've seen tremendous performances out of Carly Judice. I think she brings a level to this fight that Chavez has not ever faced before.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think it is going to be a banger, of course. I don't think Miss Chobbs is going to go out as easy as possible, or as easy as people may think, due to what we've seen from Carly Judice. She may be a lot tougher than what we are expecting, and I think this will be a really good fight.
Do you think that we're ever going to get to the point where we can have Jaleesa Chavez on like a pre-fight press conference so that some other girl can say, I'm going to turn you back into a ring girl?
I think we are once again, we've done this so many times. I don't know. I still don't know if she was the ring girl.
I'm pretty sure it was her. I think
I
so.
think it was Sofia Montenegro, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was the other way around. Maybe we just keep flip flopping and we'll never really know. But if it was Miss Chobbs, shout out to her. She was a pretty good looking ring girl. She's a pretty good looking fighter too. I just don't think she's going to look very good after this fight.
I agree. Yeah, I think Carly Judice, yeah, she's just shown too much, man. She's shown us too much to be betting against her right now, almost against anybody that is unranked. I would say. I mean, maybe once she gets into the rankings, we have a different conversation. But until it's that point, like, you got to go with her. I would say.
Absolutely.
All right, Terrence Chapman. He's fighting our dude, Anthony Wint. We just talked about Anthony Wint. He got himself a controversial win on the Contender Series. He's fighting Terrence Chapman, 5-1 versus 7-0 between the two of them. What do we know about Terrence Chapman to the point of him being on this card at short notice, multiple days only away from Wint's last performance?
Well, okay. Here is something interesting, and not that it matters too much. The most recent win that Terrence Chapman has is against an opponent who is 19-12. His nickname, by the way, Light Skin Dynamite. Don't worry about that right now. 19-12, decent amount of experience. The fight before Terrence Chapman, he suffered a TKO loss to none other than Tyro Fortune for a belt. Okay. The fight before that, he has a TKO loss to none other than Julius Walker, the Juice Box. The fight before that, he has a TKO injury loss to Tuco Tucos. And a couple years prior to that, he has a KO loss to Ryan Spann. So, whatever you would like to say, this person at least has been in the mix with some of the high level guys that get to the UFC,
Yeah, and lost all of them.
and lost all of them. But Terrence Chapman also beat him. So is he the level of a Julius Walker, and or Ryan Spann is a little different? He's now a heavyweight. What would you like to say about him losing 3 consecutive times in a matter of a year or two to 3 people who ended up being in the UFC? Is that just the likely story that Chapman is going to also face? Is I made it to the UFC and now I'm not in the UFC because I can't win anything, because Julius Walker ain't fucking won shit, I don't think. So
Yeah, no. I mean, the name that sticks out, Julius Walker certainly is one of those names, but the one that sticks out the most to me is Tuco Tokos right
yeah,
there. The fact that he lost to him, that does not age well.
it's a
No, I
first
mean,
round injury, dude. So,
okay, yeah, injury, yeah,
but that
fair
was,
enough.
but that
That's
was
it.
that's not Terrence here. That's his opponent that he beat. His last opponent that he beat. That was who he fought. So Terrence Chapman is just a guy in the mix of somebody who was in the mix. That's just the only thing I wanted to point out here.
I
So
think maybe I got a little bit confused then as to
yeah,
who we
sorry.
were
Yes,
talking
no,
about here.
no.
Okay, so
Mr. Chapman has only 6 pro bouts against nobody that you've ever heard of in Fury Fighting Championship. So it's not necessarily the craziest get up for a 29-year-old at heavyweight, but he had beat somebody with a decent amount of experience, is the only point that I would like to make there.
okay, I understand now. All right, gotcha. Well, I mean, that being said, it does feel like that. Just the fact that they're even booking him this quickly is a little bit shocking. I mean, based on what we saw on the Contender Series, sure, I mean, like he did get a very quick finish, regardless of the controversy. Let's just say that that never even happened. Let's just say it was just a clean knockout. Why of all people he's the one getting this instant call up, I guess is what I would still be questioning. Is Terrence Chapman, even with all of those wins in sequence for Chapman?
No, he just lost the one before this.
So I mean, like this, I think that they really just needed to fill a slot on this card, is what it feels like to me. So if that's the case, then I mean, I gotta go with Wint. I just saw him knock somebody out. I mean, a dude coming in out of Fury. I'm not trying to dog Fury. Fury, I'm sure, is a fine promotion, even if they do charge for their prelims, which bothers me. But either way, I mean, like it's a feeder organization like any other one. I don't think that there's anything wrong with getting your wins there. But I mean, I got to go off of a dude that I just saw finish a fight. I guess. I mean, like even like you said, strength of competition maybe there that he's already faced higher level competition, higher level opponents that are going to give him bigger problems. That's the only thought I got on this.
Yeah, I think my thing is how performative is Anthony Wint going to be in this one? In front of a crowd, he's going to get to do his whole preacher stuff. How's that going to go for him? But the last thing that I'll note is that he looked very small at heavyweight in his Contender Series matchup. He's going against a 6'2" dude who's got at least 30 pounds on him for the last recorded weight. So he might look really small and he might not chin this dude. I don't know. So,
Yeah, last opponent was bigger too. He is
but he was a
smaller.
slob.
That what I mean, we don't know about Chapman well enough,
Fair, fair.
But I mean, no, you're right. I mean, like he definitely is a smaller heavyweight for sure. They have him listed as 5'11. He is 5'10, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
like this is he's definitely not a big guy for the division. That's going to be a problem for him going forward. Period. But in this fight, short notice put together, kind of slapped together for this card for whatever the reasoning is, which I really am not. I'm kind of trying to struggle to figure out exactly why this is even happening. I think that they're trying to show off their shiny new toy is basically what it seems like to me. So set him up with somebody who they think that they can beat, and we see if he actually gets the job done. But I will take him. So like I said, I got to go off of at least what I have seen from him, which was fine.
All right, fine. I'll make it interesting. I'm taking Chapman.
Oh my goodness! All right, I mean, only go with it if you say it with the chest kind of thing,
We're taking Chapman. I got
All
this.
right.
His last opponent was experienced, and he knocked him out.
Fair. All right. Good deal. Well, then, what I will say about Wint, just as a note from the fight, he certainly is a fast starter. He's a guy who's going to go out there, march forward, and take the fight to him. So Chapman better be ready to brawl from the start of the fight. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely. He's just coming off a first round knockout, so he might be ready for it.
Didn't take a scratch. No.
Great.
All right. Next up on the prelims here, Jamal Emmers is fighting Le'Heon Douglas. Wow, they are really setting up Jamal Emmers for a big old fall, huh?
Yeah, this one I have a really big issue with, and I've only seen it really called out one time. So there was a tweet going around, and there was a video pack. It was like a highlight reel of Francis Ngannou, and the caption was how people are talking about Larry and Douglas after knocking out literally Julian Erosa. Like, I agree that this guy, they're talking about him as like one of they talk about him like he's fucking Ilya right now. Like he's one of the hardest punchers in there. His jab is so it's like, guys, he has 5 fucking losses already. He has
Fair.
not been able to do this to plenty of people.
I want to say that I think that this is a very fair point that is being made right now.
Yeah, thank you. Like I don't understand where the hype is coming from. Like, okay, cool, he did the cowboy hat, he did the little gun thing, cool. But he's not necessarily showing you much. I mean, he can jab, and he can jab, and it looks good. But that jab didn't work for Asmat Mirzakhanov. So after Rakic ate it, nobody else did, and Paulo Costa kicked his fucking head off. I'm not gonna say Jamal Emmers is gonna be the guy to pull off a performance like this, but I'm gonna be the first one to say it right now. that Larry and Douglas, you're getting faded by the fans because the fans are building you up as if you are the greatest person ever after literally one fucking fight. I'm here to just be a non-believer, and hopefully that helps you in the long run when people like me are being real to you and they're not just building you up like you're just some conqueror. Like you're genuinely not, bro. You have 5 losses. I know it happens, it's part of the game, but I can't have people thinking that you're God's gift to green earth when in featherweight, bro, I've seen some crazy shit go down, and it is not beating up Julian Erosa. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and also, I mean, really, I think that the bigger point here is that Jamal Emmers is no slouch. I mean, I know, you see the 8 losses there, and you think, oh man, this guy, maybe not as much of a killer. He has taken some losses, but this is a striker too. I mean, this is a guy who he's a good mover, he's a good striker, he's a dude who can bring a fight to you. I don't think that this is necessarily a walk in the park fight for Leon Douglas in the slightest. This is a big. I would say that even if it doesn't feel this way to a lot of people, because Jamal Emmers is not a dude who's been consistently a great of the sport. That this is not a big jump up. I think it is a big jump up. I think it's a very large leap for Leon Douglas, probably because of that hype he has been getting. That being said, I mean, in with the new, out with the old when it comes to a 37-year-old guy versus this, younger dude who's on the come up. Go with what you know until you don't know it no more, until it's not working. Go with what's working is my motto most of the time. I've seen good things out of Leon Douglas. Emmers being a little bit more spotty. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit with Leon Douglas in this one.
I'm gonna just talk strict MMA math right now because
Which we
listen,
know is infallible.
absolutely. Jamal Emmers, we've talked about this before, being 37 and being still kind of in that prospect range, He's been around, he's a veteran at this point, but he's still not overcome the hump to get to like middle of the road guy. The people that he has faced in his career, and this goes back a while. Back in 2016, he took a TKO loss to Thiago Moises. Okay, not great. We still have come back. Then he gets a decision win unanimously in LFA over Corey Sandhagen. Keep that. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Now this is where the MMA math starts to get interesting because Jamal Emmers has been unfortunately TKO'd by Julian Erosa, and that was when he was on the Contender Series back in 2018. So that is not a great look, but he got a call back up against Giga Chikadze, and he lost by split decision. I mean, listen, Giga's not the greatest, but he's not a slouch, and split decision is pretty damn good, I'd say.
Well, and that's what I was going to say about Julian Erosa as well. I mean, 2018 Erosa is not, not
Fair
now.
play.
So
Fair play. And then, he has a submission loss to Pat Sabatini. That's fine. That's, that dude's whatever it was. And, Nate Landwehr did finish him and did knock him out. That's fine. I understand that could be a bad look. But Nate, at a time, that was a little lightning in a bottle performance because he hasn't looked like that since. So I don't know if you want to hold that against Jamal or if you want to just say that was maybe Nate in a really good state. But the thing that really stands out to me, of course, is his most recent performance against Hyder Emil. I feel like in this fight, I saw a skill from Jamal Emmers that I didn't see before, and I was like, oh, he's not just a very good striker. Like, he has other game. And I think Larry and Douglas, you say Lejeon, I still don't see how this is possible with all these R's. But
Brazilian pronunciation.
But either way, Jamal Emmers, I'm going to take you to beat Larry and Douglas because I think fading Larry and Douglas is going to be the best thing that happened to my podcasting career. When everybody thinks that this dude is fucking Brock Lesnar or whoever else, like, nah, brother.
Lejeon Douglas is on fraud watch from Chase Parton right now.
Gotta be.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I think that actually you already kind of said my thought process just in your little MMA math portion right there.
Yeah.
The Nate the Train performance, I think that tracks tremendously for what this is right here, dude. I mean, Nate coming in back then when he was still a guy who would go out there and just blast your head off. I think it's possible. I think it's certainly possible. Jamal Emmers is like I said, I think he's good on his feet. He moves well. He strikes well. Leon Douglas finds the shot. That's about it. I think that he ends up getting this done. And again, I will certainly adjust the thought process once this changes, but I have to see the change first.
I think I've talked about this a couple weeks now where I find it hard to pick the fighter that has to have the clean 3 rounds. Like there's the dude who knocks out, and then there's guys who's got the volume. But in this case, it's different because I genuinely don't trust Douglas. Like if he does it, if he starches Jamal Emmers, it's like, okay, all right. This a couple times now. Maybe he does have some power that is a little more than the ordinary. But as of right now, again, I can see 5 people were able to not drop to your strikes. So Jamal Emmers might not be different than the random dude down in Brazil. So who knows?
Yeah, most definitely. We'll find out after this fight. All will be revealed, but you're sticking with your choice here. Jamal Emmers for the win.
I'm gonna take him. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and you know what's
Okay.
funny? Interesting about Leary and Douglas. Do you remember a guy named Isaac Thompson?
I do. He was very good. He fought Britu.
Larry and Douglas TKO'd him in 2023. Or I'm sorry, he TKO'd Larry and Douglas. Excuse me.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I'm not putting stock into the MMA math portion of this. I'm putting stock into what I've seen with my own 2 eyes here, and where he's hopefully progressed. We want to believe that people are getting better in this sport.
Hell yeah. But I'm gonna go ahead and I forgot also his his contender series fight was against Cam Teague, bro. That dude gets knocked out by anybody on contender series. So we're just gonna have to see how it goes, man.
It's
Damn.
a very. I am thoroughly acknowledging this is a very large jump in competition for him.
And the other dude that he knocked out, of course, that we know of, is Javier Reyes, who we know ain't fucking good, brother. So we'll just have to see how it goes, man.
Again, yeah. Look, if it turns out that all of this equals up to a dude who is not about it, then now we will know after this fight. And I think Jamal Emmers is the exact guy to show that if that's the case. So I like this matchmaking for that exact reason. This is a big jump for him. This is the featherweight equivalent of the Jonathan Janice versus Marcin Tybura, I would say, to an extent.
Yeah.
So let's see it.
Hell yeah.
All right, but I'm sticking with Lahayon. Let's go.
Good deal.
All right. Kennedy and Chezuku is fighting Shamil Gaziev. The meal deal is back at heavyweight. What are we thinking here?
This one's an easy call. I mean, Kennedy has yet to prove that he's even anything at heavyweight. That performance against Buchecha, who gives a fuck? Glad you got a draw. And then before that was the Walter Walker, where he got his ankle taken. So I think Shamil is set in his way at heavyweight. He has a method that works. It didn't the last couple times, but that's not everybody. I think he's gonna he's just gonna blob it out, and Kennedy is just not gonna hang with him. The thing about Shamil is that he is inclined to stand and strike, and I think that if he's gonna let Kennedy play the outside, because Kennedy's got a really wide stance, he's got some good movement. If he lets Kennedy get in his game, it could be dangerous. But I do like the idea of Shamil when he gets into a point where he shouldn't be taking as many strikes, he just grabs a hold of the person and just walks them wherever he wants across the cage. He's just going to do what he wants. And I think Shamil not going to get knocked out in this one. And I think he probably will be on the. No, this will be a decision. Kennedy's not gonna. He's not gonna risk it. He's gonna try to get another decision. Like I gotta skate by, and then it's not gonna fucking work for him.
Yeah, I mean, Kennedy and Chezuku was a person who I thought was one of the best opportunities for a light heavyweight to have tremendous success at heavyweight. I thought that this was the body type, this was the physicality, the cardio conditioning was going to be good for him. All of that seems to have not panned out the way that I thought it was going to. So, I mean, really, based on what we have been seeing out of Kennedy, it's like you think that something's going to go one way, it doesn't end up going that way. You kind of got to believe what your eyes are telling you at that point. Shamil has enough of a skill set beyond his meme status to win fights. Whether they are the cleanest wins of all time really is besides the point. The Buchecha fight really does kind of speak a lot to the thought process here. I mean, that is about as clear cut of a win as you need to get at heavyweight. I mean, based on what we've seen out of that guy, that should have been. I mean, I remember us talking about that fight. Kennedy layup. How are they even giving him this guy? This is such a mismatch for Kennedy and Chezuku. Turned into what it turned into. Shamil, predisposed to having a built-in bag of tricks, so to speak. So, I mean, go with what you know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that Shamil is my favorite fighter of all time, but I know that he knows how to win a fight at heavyweight, and that's what I'm going with.
There you go. I love it. So both taking Shamil.
I guess we are. Yeah, I'll go with that. All right. Taco Pad is back. I'm very happy to see him on a card again. Chris Padilla. He is fighting Nasrat Hakparast, who has finally woken up from the head kick knockout from our dude Quillen Salkeld. Are you still riding with Nasrat the same way that you once were, Chase?
I think I will, specifically in this fight, because um, I have talked about Chris Padilla not really seeing what I wanted to out of him. The last performance where he ended up getting a draw, I felt that I saw it there. Like I saw what a Padilla in his prime could be. Now the judges and whatever scandalous shit was going on there, that's beside the point. I think Padilla has a good skill set to match up with a lot of people, but I have always been very high on Nasrat Hakparast. This dude, one, very tough. Two, very elite level striking. I mean, this is a guy who has striking out the wazoo. And it's not the whole story, but he does have a package that complements his striking very well. I mean, when we go back to the Quillen fight, just because that's what happened last, he did all the things right. He just got fucking caught with a kick. I mean, it happens sometimes. You can't ever you can't underestimate the power of John Anik talking about the bakery that you grew up in. Like, it's crazy that Quillen was able to just do that to him because nobody ever really had. And this one is going to be fun because I think Nasrat is going to have a nice coming out party. I'm hoping that he's going to be the dog in this one. I'm hoping that this is going to be an underdog pick because Chris Padilla has a good set of fans that are very confident in what he can do, and I personally am just not seeing what I've seen out of Nasrat Hakparast, of course.
Yeah, no, and I would class myself among those fans. I've said about Chris Padilla that I appreciate his application of fight IQ. This is a guy who, in the wins that he has, you're seeing a Muay Thai base being applied to MMA, which I think is working for him pretty effectively, and he is very keenly aware that that is the skill set that he is utilizing in an MMA capacity specifically. That being said, the thing that worries me is that Nasrat Hakparast, for as accurate and powerful as a striker as he is also very fast with his hands. He's a dude who will go in there and his combos will just start flying at you at a million miles an hour to the point where it's like, damn, I thought I was going to have to set up the blocks. Now all of a sudden I'm getting touched up in 8 different spots. That concerns me a little bit because I think that if Chris Padilla thinks that he's going to be able to get close range elbows off, he's going to get touched to the body a lot. I think if he uses his teep effectively, which is Muay Thai base, I'm hoping that he does that maybe he's going to have some better shots from the outside. I think he's going to have to really tire Nasrat Hakparast out. I think that is going to be the key to this is to let Nasrat burn off the initial energy and over the course of the fight incrementally win this thing. I think that that's a big part of why you're not seeing what you want to see out of him is because he sometimes has to work his way into the win as opposed to just getting the win. I acknowledge that in this fighter. That being said, though, I do think that he has the skill set to win a fight pretty effectively. I think that he is a student of the game to the point where he is always consistently improving the set. The skill set is there already. He's making improvements on it. I think that he might have to play Matador for a little while on this one and tire out the bull, but eventually Chris Padilla gets the win and makes up for that bullshit that happened in the Markel Medeiros fight.
All right, I'm excited for it. So I'm taking Nasrat. You're taking Chris Padilla?
I certainly am. Yes, indeed. And I love Nasrat Hakparast, by the way. I also am a huge fan of this guy. So you got to know that this speaks pretty highly of how I feel about Chris Padilla and what he brings to the table.
Absolutely.
All right. Takes us down to our next fight here. That is Marcio Barbosa versus Ryan Coos. This is Contender Series ×2, if I'm not mistaken, right? Both these guys?
So Marcio is coming off the Contender Series. He knocked out, if you remember, the guy who lived in his RV or his van or something. The Nomad was his nickname.
Yes, yeah, that the dude who was he was kind of a little bohemian-ish, right?
Yeah, so he knocked him out, and then he came into the UFC and knocked out Dennis Bazookia. So not necessarily saying this dude is a world ender yet, but he is going up against somebody who has a split decision loss to Cameron Smotherman. So what would you like to say about that? That was only 3 fights ago. I mean,
what did he do on the Contender Series, Coos?
He hasn't been.
Oh,
he was not on there.
Oh, okay. So he's jumping the line.
He's coming from Samurai Fight House.
Samurai Fight House and a unanimous decision win in LFA. All right, we're going with Marcio Barbosa.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to knock him out probably.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the name sounds familiar. I don't know why. Maybe I might have seen one of his cards that he was on. I might have seen him on LFA perhaps, but it's not sticking out to me off rip why that name sounds so familiar. And if Barbosa's been tearing things up, then I don't know why they're setting him up with a guy from outside the organization if he's fresh in the organization. Matchmaking's been a little strange recently at times, it would feel like. I mean, some of these fights, like, you have the veterans going up against guys who are like one of these guys should be like the dude that is fighting a guy on his retirement potentially anyway. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels like we're getting weird. Like should if Marcio Barbosa is fresh into the organization, should he not be fighting a more tenured fighter in the organization?
No, no, I don't know why that's not how it happens, but no, that's not the case, unfortunately, Thinker.
All right. Well, then I mean, pretty easy and open and shut for me. Then Marcio
Yeah.
Barbosa.
No, it's
All right.
easy. Shutting case.
All right. Fair enough. Then moving on. Ah, your guy Gage Young is back. Oh my gosh, he is fighting Stan Dorsonville. Oh, if I didn't remember where I saw Coos, I certainly remember where I saw Stan Dorsonville. The Drill, I believe, is his nickname, if
It
I'm not
is.
mistaken.
Wow,
Yeah,
you know exactly who this dude is. Holy
this
shit.
dude showed the fuck out. I am a Stan Dorsonville fan. He is Haitian. He's a Haitian by descent. He reps for Haiti. I believe he's a Miami. I forgot, what card did I say? Hold on.
Stan Dorsonville is a Haitian man?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
That isn't that name doesn't add up at all to me, but I'll take it.
Yes, he was. I believe he was on the LFA card. It must have been him. That must have been the LFA card that I was watching him on. And I said, this guy is bound for the Contender Series. They're jumping him right into the organization. Let's fucking go. Riding with my man Stan, the man Dorsonville. Dude, when this before. Now, granted, look, it's LFA. I get it. It's not the UFC. Gage Young, a guy who was I know that you see something in Gage Young that I do not, but I saw in LFA, I saw a really nice performance from Dorsonville here. You can go with the experience on this one. I think that is probably I'm the first person to say you're coming into a guy out of the organization versus someone who's been in it. He's felt that experience. We saw Gage Young pull off some of the most low IQ fighting in his last fight that we have seen in quite some time. I'm rolling the dice on my dude Stan the Drill over here.
I'm going to take Gage Young, of course. I've always said that this dude is one of the more well rounded prospects that we have. At 26 years old, he's still making changes. And the weird stuff with the dance moves last fight was not it, but we learn and we move on and fuck y'all bets is whatever he said. So
Fair. I mean, like, he's certainly not a guy who's winning himself fans by the way that he was conducting himself. He did win the fight, so I mean, you give him that for sure. But I think that what I've seen out of Gage Young is that I've not seen him to the point of being like, now I'm a UFC fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, I guess, the thought process.
now
that
he's
I
going to
have.
continue fighting somebody who's not in the UFC. So
That's my point. Is exactly. So it's like, if this is Contender Series Part 3 for him, then Stan the man's got at least as much of a shot as anybody else on the Contender Series, I would say. And these are the times that if I end up getting this one right, then all of these ridiculous amounts of watch-alongs that I do throughout the week, every night that I am on stream, will pay off. So Stan Dorsonville, go and get the job done for Haiti, my dude.
absolutely. And shout out Hydra really quick for this point here. I love when the picks differ on these short resume fighters. Well, if you like anybody's picks who are doing a little different things around here, just make sure to like and subscribe to that channel and just keep up the great work and the support that you guys are having.
Absolutely appreciate all you guys sticking it out with us as we enter the last couple of fights here. Speaking of which, God, how did they put this fight together? This is a dream fight for Chase Parton, people.
They done it twice today. For this card, they got two of my dream fights. They listened to me.
This is Wes Schultz versus Jackson McVeigh. It's the battle of the long-haired goats over here. It's two of Chase's most favorited fighters in the modern era. It feels like I think Chase Parton might be the president of the fan club for both of these gentlemen. Chase, how do you pick between these two?
This one is a tough one. I'm not going to lie because, once again, Wes Schultz, his game is you beat me up until I submit you. And that works for a lot of people. Unless you are Damian Pinas and nobody gets up from those punches, Wes Schultz has a chance. Jackson McVeigh is also a very interesting specimen because it's kind of like they're the opposite. It's like Wes Schultz is wait, all fight, throw submission. Jackson McVeigh is don't wait, all fight, and strike. Like it's a weird dynamic here, and I think they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. Jackson McVeigh has a predisposition to getting submitted. He got submitted by Bruno Fajeda and that was the first or the second submission of that dude's fucking career at the time or whatever it was. Wes Schultz can get his ass whooped, but he does have submissions. But it does a Suliev stretch and a Gilly. I don't know if I'm thinking the bag is as deep as it maybe could be, but he can finish a fight with a submission. I don't think Wes Schultz is gonna TKO. I don't think Jackson McVeigh is gonna get a submission. I think somehow, some way, we're going to meet in the middle. I don't know what that means, but I do know the fight is gonna finish because that's what these dudes do best. And I think that you have party time and you have the Moose, and it's just gonna be a fight of the night right here. This will be listen. This will be one round, and you will be in awe. I promise.
You got the party moose going on.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, that all being said, like I think that the thing that you just said that gives me the most pause is that Jackson McVeigh can be submitted. Now we know that Wes Schultz, he's going to go for wilder submissions, though. That's the thing that gets me a little bit about this matchup is that it's like it's not just the fact that Wes Schultz will go for submissions, it's that he wants to try to pull off stranger ones that kind of come from odd angles and may catch McVeigh off guard. It's very, very hard for me in my right mind to pick Wes Schultz to win a fight. Jackson McVeigh, I believe in his last fight did show us that maybe he might have worked out some of the kinks in the game. He's a dude who actually wants to go out there and win fights, while I feel like Wes Schultz kind of coasts his way until he finds a victory. So I mean, like if we're meeting in the middle, if that's the meet in the middle that we have, I got to believe that Jackson McVeigh has a little bit more of an intensity that Wes Schultz does not bring to the fight.
I think it is also key to remember that Wes Schultz doesn't necessarily train for decisions. I mean, he comes out and say, I just fuck around. You know, they said like your coaches are telling you not to do this, and he's like, well, I just don't listen very well. You know, that's why I'm in here, not a fucking English professor or whatever. So I think it's very easy for me to wrap my head around Wes Schultz losing in a very comical way, in a way that you would have to see him come back. It's like, oh my, I can't like not see that again. So
It'll be meme worthy one way or another.
I think this is my breakdown of it. I think Wes Schultz goes in there, and I think in the funniest fashion he's going to pull guard, and I think Jackson McVeigh is going to finish him in his guard. Like I think that is what I'm seeing happen here. I don't see Wes Schultz trying to pull off the standing Gilly. I think Jackson is going to run through him to the point where it gets to the ground. Wes Schultz just ends up on the ground somehow, some way, and he's going to be trying to fucking pull rubber guard or something, and just Jackson just elbows him, just elbows and elbows.
Well, and also I think that it's important to keep in mind that Jackson McVeigh, his last fight that he did, he pulled it out after a couple of losses, sub win over Rodrigues Dumas. Now I know that does not speak loudly. However, Wes Schultz's last fight was one of the funniest fights that we've seen in the UFC against Ben Johnston.
Just some random jujitsu coach that clearly don't know how to guard off guillotines. It's funny because with that fight with Wes Schultz is again his game is you will beat me up or you will look decent up until you don't. And that dude had defended 5 guillotines that entire fight, and then randomly in the third round just decided I'm done defending them. So
yeah, and kept putting himself into them to defend them. So I mean, yeah, I gotta believe that Jackson McVeigh doesn't necessarily do that exact thing to make it that kind of a joke of a fight,
I listen. The fight with Zachary Reese is where I truly saw what Jackson McVeigh could be on offense. I talked about Jalen Turner. We don't have that large of a sample size, and obviously he's not going to be as good. But I think when it comes to the offensive arsenal, I think of the determination that Jackson has to end the fight early. I think it is there with the Zachary Reese performance. I saw it, but Zachary Reese, to his credit, he's a tough guy. It doesn't always go his way, but Jackson put a pretty decent beating on him in that first round, and I don't think Wes Schultz is going to be the guy to take all that damage, man. I think he'll end up on the ground, and maybe we'll get out of the first round, and maybe that's where Wes is going to enact his game plan. I mean, he's going to have him right where he wants him when the round 2 starts, because Jackson's going to have no energy. It is an interesting matchup here. But southpaw for Jackson is also a pretty big note here. he might just decimate Wes Schultz because he's never seen that. Who knows? I don't really like to take too much account into the stances, but maybe it is something that does matter a lot more than we think, you know?
All right. So that all being said, then final thoughts here, Chase. I'm taking Jackson McVeigh just before you answer.
I am going to also take Jackson McVeigh, and I think it is the you know what? I'm gonna take Party Time.
Oh, you are okay. By all, say it with
I
your chest, brother.
I'm gonna take Party Time because I think once again, this goes back to Damian Pinos. Nobody can take that shot. You know, Wes Schultz has been beat up plenty of times. He's taken big shots, just not that one. Jackson McVeigh, he's going to have to, it's a real dirty of a fight. He's not just going to one shot clean Wes Schultz. I do agree that it's going to end up on the ground, but I hate to break it to you guys. I'm gonna have to admit it. That's right where Wes Schultz is going to start enacting his game plan. I think Jackson McVeigh, if you got armbarred by fucking Bruno Fajeda, I think Wes Schultz is live for a Scottish Twister incoming, guys.
Oh my goodness, the meta continues. Okay, well, look, if that is what happens here, then party time, excellent, I suppose.
I think it also, listen, destiny is a thing. Some people are made to be somebody that you remember. And out of these two people, you talk about the long hair, you know, it's Jesus versus whatever. Jackson McVeigh, at the end of the day, doesn't have a sliver of the personality that Wes Schultz has. Like he's entertaining, he's fine, but I think Wes Schultz, I think the personality that he has, the juju that's in the air is this is a guy that is going to stay around for a second. You know, Jackson, he's the kind of guy that I feel like if he disappeared, nobody would remember. But there would be me questioning, where's Party Time at? Where's
Oh
this
my
dude been
God.
at?
The aura farming has sprouted trees here, I guess, for Chase Barton. I think I got to at least mention Hydra's comment here. The whoever wins this fight is the man with the more offensive white boy cornrows. I think that certainly tracks.
God damn, I love it. Holy shit. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, we're split on a bunch of these, so this will be an interesting card, I suppose. That does take us down to the first fight of the evening. I don't think we'll be split on this one, though. This is Chanel Dyer and Elise Reed. Chanel Dyer coming in with all those shiny belts, all of those crazy accolades. Elise Reed is 8-5.
Yeah, I mean, Chanel, we only know one thing about her is that she took a really bad loss. And it wasn't as bad as it could be because she was really tough in this performance. There was nothing. She was really willing to be in that fight with Carol Foro. And we know just how good Foro is. Like, that girl is fucking good. So,
She's got the win over Gigi.
exactly. And so, Chanel, that being her only loss really isn't that big of a deal because she came back better than ever against fucking Ravena Oliveira. Is that right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Elise Reed is going to look better than that. Not by much, but she does. I think there was a stat that I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but Elise Reed's last 3 losses or whatever are by finish, and her last 5 wins are by decision, something of that sort.
Yeah, that at least, but the losses do track. Yeah, she's lost to Luke Boonmi by sub, lost to Godinez by sub, and lost to Denise Gomes by knockout.
Well, so Denise Gomes, okay,
I know, yeah.
God damn. I'm looking at these names here. Yeah, Corey McKenna split decision. Sam Hughes knocked her out. Melissa Martinez decision. Yeah, this one. Listen, Chanel. I'm trying to give Elise the benefit of the doubt because she is the veteran here. But new age talent, Chanel Dyer. I think she's going to come out here and look very, very good on the feet. But what I'm hoping, and this is just to solidify that Chanel is more than your average prospect. I'm hoping to see some resistance. I'm hoping to see Elise Reed get a takedown or 2. And I want to see what Chanel has to offer from those positions because the striking looks fine. I mean, it's nothing where I'm like, oh, she needs to fix this or she needs to stop taking, she needs to work on her defense. No, striking's cool. But when she gets taken down, I need to see what's going to happen. And Elise Reed is the perfect example of somebody who can get a takedown and probably not do too much with it. So we're going to get to see Chanel, and hopefully we get to see how her brain operates down there. Like, what is she focused on? Is she focused on getting up? Is she focused on getting damage off? If Elise Reed is not going to be the one damaging her on top, is she going to be damaging her on bottom? You know, what are all these different things? You know, we talk about England and their grappling. Apparently they have it, but we don't have to fucking see it every now and then. You know, listen, Chanel Dyer, submission. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and say that we got a wild card on our hands.
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, all of those accolades were in Muay Thai, right? I mean, that's
Yes,
that's her base. So, I mean, she's probably going to be resting pretty heavily on that. And I agree with you entirely. I mean, a win over Ravina Oliveira says literally zero to me. I mean, I've been saying this for probably as many fights as Oliveira has been in this organization, that she is not of the caliber of the UFC. So, really, that's a little bit of a wash here. If Elise Reed does have a game plan to get her to the ground, she might be able to, lay on top of her for a while. We're going to need to see some definitive get up game here if Chanel Dyer is going to be wanting to enact a Muay Thai style. I mean, it has to happen.
because ideally that's what you would want. You want to see the urgency to get the fight back to the feet, but
But you want to see ground game. You want to see
but
if she actually has something
yes,
there.
I want to. But which actually could be a double edged sword. If I'm wanting to see ground game out of her, then I'm presumably saying she's not good enough to get up from Elise Reed. But if she comes out here and she gets up from a bunch of these takedowns, sorry if you hear this beeping. Jesus Christ, I think it's a humidifier. I got to empty. But anyway, I think Chanel Dyer is going to do some great things in this performance. And I'm hoping she showcases new levels to her game, because there's always room for improvement. And I really want to I want to know how deep it goes. Are you really just going to be a Muay Thai fighter? Like, is that all you're going to do when you get in here? Because somebody's going to be able to take you down. And I think it's better to learn early than later. If somebody can get you down, what you're going to be able to do, or what you're thinking you're needing to do. Practice is one thing, but we've already seen a fight not go your way and you weren't able to change anything up. So hopefully there's a new level to the game here, is what I would say.
I hope so for her sake as well, but unfortunately, I think what we're going to probably end up with in this fight is her sticking to her striking base and probably just getting a kick knockout. I mean, I think that we're probably going to get a very similar fight to what we got out of the Oliveira fight here. That would be the thought process for me. I kind of want to see exactly what you're talking about. I think if it goes that way, it's probably going to end up with Elise Reed winning this fight by decision on the ground. That's like sad to say. Like I don't see Chanel, like you said what you just said about, like, do you just want to be a Muay Thai fighter? I feel like Chanel Dyer probably should have been. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like off of what we've seen out
She
of
has
her.
all the accolades ever. I mean, she's done. I've talked about this with BJJ all the time. It's like once you reach a level, it's like any standard traditional martial art. Once you are at the highest level of the martial art, it's like, well, now I have to see if it can be implemented against other martial arts. That's the real true test at the end of the day. Chanel Dyer, at 25 years old, has accomplished everything she wanted to in Muay Thai. And now she's challenging herself. If at 25 years old you're done with Muay Thai traditional and you are doing mixed martial arts, you better not stay just a Muay Thai girl. You need to actually elevate the game. You need to work on takedowns. You need to work on takedown defense. Some things are not going to be as natural to you, but you can't just abandon them because it's uncomfortable, or if I don't want to do it, or I don't need to worry about it now, so why work on it? There's plenty of things. You are a mixed martial artist now. I need to see a full, complete package.
I mean, you're saying all the exact right things. I'm just hoping that her coaches are saying this to her. I hope that these things are actually being implemented is the issue here. And I
Yeah.
don't think that we necessarily have seen enough of that to know. But I do think that they are setting her up for a win one way or another with an Elise Reed. So, every round starts on the feet kind of thing. She gets laid on for round one. She's got round two to come back with the kicks. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, this does feel like another one of these fights where when Chanel Dyer gets a really nice highlight worthy win, it's got a highlight in her last fight. Now it's starting to be like, oh, damn, Chanel Dyer, she's got all these highlights. There's holes in the game that I want so badly for what you are asking for to be shown here. I don't know if it will be, but do I think she gets the win? I do.
No, absolutely. I appreciate Chanel. Of course, she is. That Contender Series fight is one of the better ones that I feel like I've seen in a really long time, and I just really hope that she is able to continue being the entertainment spectacle that she's been. I mean, first fight of the night, female fight, could have been Carly Judice, but they obviously know what's up here. So I think they have big hopes for Chanel.
Certainly so. And I am going to absolutely be having a straight bet on Elise Reed by, sub or decision if they have a double. If they got a double up on that, then I think that she is a good dog for that exact reason, because we just have not seen enough of the well-roundedness out of Dyer yet. So show me that, conversation changes. But right now, I'll take Dyer to win. Straight bet on Elise Reed, for the double up if they have it.
Hell yeah.
All right. And that being said, that brings us to the end of this card, which you can watch along with myself or Chase Parton on our individual watch alongs this Saturday. Myself being at youtube.com/@Yama Show. Chase, where can they find you, my friend?
They can find me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls. And of course, that is watching UFC on Saturdays, Friday mornings, one championship, and then all throughout the week, any of the other extracurriculars that we get to. So I appreciate you guys for subscribing there.
Absolutely. I am at Yama Show on Facebook, on Twitter, on fucking Instagram, and now on TikTok, it seems like for the time being. So if you are on any of those platforms, please make sure to follow your boy at Yama Show on all of those. More stuff coming throughout the week, of course. Thank you so much to all of you guys who have been hanging out with us for this one. We had a really good active chat for this this episode. Yamashow.com for all of your merchandise needs for both Yama and last week's fights. Let us know if you're enjoying the show. We really appreciate the feedback on this, and appreciate your time as always. So
Yeah.
until next time. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, yeah, we saw a couple new subscribers here. We saw a couple new people in the chat, of course, saying that they appreciated the show. Kick the moon, like the breakdown. So I appreciate you guys for letting us know if things are going right or what we need to obviously put more focus into. So the main thing is, if you guys appreciate the breakdowns, please let us know that, because that's really what it comes down to. The breakdowns, the predictions, all these different things. I just hope that you guys appreciate what we're doing for you, and we appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Very well said. And with that being said, you have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.